Welcome everybody, welcome Filthy Casual, welcome. Hope you had a nice day so far. Just had to set up some more stuff because today we want to do a tier list after I did some gaming. And I hope I'm all set up now. So there we go. Start with some PvP. Just for the daily. And then we go into PvE and do some fractals, maybe some strike mission. Let's see what comes up. So how is it going with your quest on getting to find a perfect healer for fractals? Are you playing Healing Catalyst or are you playing Healing Firebrand now? I think both of them are actually quite good. But I would say Healing Firebrand is a little bit better for fractals. Okay, we have a full offensive team. That's actually crazy. So let's take a look. Okay, I mean Catalyst is, I would say, quite nice. I think the boon uptime, especially in fractals that are where you have to split and stuff, that can be really, really good. I think Firebrand gets outclassed by a lot of boon applications when it comes to Catalyst, for sure. Okay, so who do we target here? Untamed? No, not Untamed. We target this one. Oh, that was close, close, close. Okay, he's dead. That's way too close for me, I have to admit. I don't even know what's happening here. I'm surviving with 50 HP the whole match. That's not good. That doesn't feel good. Okay, we got the kill here. Looks way too close for comfort, I have to admit. Doesn't matter, we got the kills. Crazy. That was actually crazy. Sorry, I had to concentrate there for a bit. I don't want to die just because I was talking about something that is not related to that. Let's engage on the Mesmer. No, wait. No, we got him. Nice. That's a kill. He's not playing the remove dodge, so it's instant kill for sure if I land the emob here. You see, Willbender after the nerfs is still very, very strong, so don't worry about that. I can't rest this guy, it's not possible. So let's try to interrupt them, kill them again. Good. That's not good. I interrupted my reset, that's not good. Tell me why SC Condi Reaper don't use Grieving instead of full Viper, like the OP Reaper showed in your video. Why it doesn't use Grieving instead of Viper? Or do you mean why it does use Grieving? So it uses Grieving because the build that I showcased, the solo build, is not... It really leans into dealing as much Condi damage as possible. Yeah, the Grieving Reaper wants to deal as much damage as possible. So it wants to also use power damage if possible. So the solo build wants to deal as much condi damage as possible because you heal a certain percentage of your condi damage. And that's obviously something really, really good. This guy is really hunting me. So if you get a certain percentage of your condi damage that you deal as healing, that it's really, really helpful that you then go for as much condi damage as possible. Yeah. If on a build that is only about exactly, it does more damage, but is squishier, the Reaper build. But that's fine because you're playing in a group. You have some kind of healer with you. So that's the difference between a solo build that wants to obviously also optimize its damage. But if it loses all the sustain for it, it's not worth it. Yeah. And therefore, you trade stuff around all the time. That is, so to say, sometimes you have to go with the trade that makes you a little bit less tanky, but you get way more damage. And sometimes you go with the trade that gives you way more sustain and you get less DPS. That's always how you... What? How did my skill not work? Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I would say play the Grieving Reaper build when you have a healer. If you are solo, if you don't have a healer, you can play full Viper with Parasitic Contagion. Yeah, so you can go full Viper solo build and you can go a full Viper Reaper in group play as well. Just be aware though that the damage is lower than it could be just by the nature of how the build works out. That's just the sad truth. Reaper is in a weird spot there. Most other solo builds that are condi can be played Viper, and you have a, so to say, instance content group play. This guy goes so ham all the time. And look at this. I'm against 2 people. Please. 3 people now. And my team is still losing. What is going on? So, Viper on a Condi Reaper is actually quite a bit lower in DPS if you play with Greatsword. What they are doing, I think they are playing Greatsword with Spear or something on a Condi Reaper, because the only condition that you apply is chill, and therefore the only condition that you get is bleeding. So that means if you go for Viper, you get a lot of expertise that you don't really need. You can easily get, for example, to full 100% bleeding duration, and therefore it doesn't really matter that much on a Condi Reaper build that does only do grieving stats. If you're playing solo, then it's different. Then you want to go for as many condis as you can get and get more value from the expertise. That's the idea. Yeah. So I can talk about that a little bit more when I don't have to concentrate about this in this match. I'm not sure what's going on here, I have to be honest. I actually don't like the meta currently in PvP. It's so bursty. Everyone bursts each other. It's so bad. But your pick Condi Raker works in strikes, and yeah, definitely. If you're playing Viper at least. If you're playing Celestial or Trailblazer, I would say it's a little bit grieving because you don't need the toughness at all. But if you're playing the Viper variant, not a big problem. Not at all, I would say. It's a very good build there. So I would say the Viper variant is a very good option for just getting to know Reaper. And if you really want to min-max, then you can go with Grieving and play the, so to say, optimal variant for PvE. But for starting out, I would say the Viper variant is way better because you can also play it solo very easily. Okay, I have my cooldown in a second. Gosh. are Condi damage over times weaker on the grieving one. So they are only weaker because you don't have the expertise. So you have to think about it like the Condi damage, I think, is quite similar. So the amount of damage a Condi does per tick is the same. But with full expertise, you can reach almost 100% Condi duration of every single Condi. That means your torment, your burning, your bleeding, everything is, let's say, 90, 80%, something like that, higher. So that means that if you have just double the amount of ticks that do the same amount of damage, you deal double amount of damage. So Viper in that sense is way better. But if you only do one Condi, yeah, and can still reach the higher amount of or Condi duration, so if you have 100% bleeding duration and no expertise other way, then you can invest all the stats that you normally would use to get expertise into power, precision, and ferocity, and you in the end will get more power damage than you would get more Condi damage, and therefore you're fine. That's a little bit... Holy shit. I can't kill 7 people. Please let me live. How many people do I have to kill here? It's impossible. Please kill this guy and we win. That felt horrible. So if the boss won't cleanse and move a lot, Viper would be stronger. So okay, let's do the calculation. I go to Reaper and I show you. Okay. So the idea here is... Oh, I can't accept it. 1 second. The idea that's why you really have to have some hardcore players in the game, because only then you get those calculations going, you know? So I go to a Necromancer and I can show to you. So the idea is a Condi Reaper almost exclusively... No, it's fine, it's fine. I like to explain stuff, and it's good if you have some kind of questions that I can explain about. So the Condi Reaper, the only condition that the Condi Reaper from the SC guys does is chill. And bleeding, because of the chill. Yeah. So if you... Yeah, is it... There we go. So if you play this build, the normal one, the Viper variant or the Celestial variant, doesn't matter. You get torment duration, you get so from the expertise you get a lot of condition duration, and that affects your bleeding, your chill, your torment, all the conditions you apply. So that means you get 70% longer lasting conditions. Yeah. That means that almost on all fights where you have long phases or you have no phases at all, long condition duration means more damage. Yeah, that's straight up what the result of that is. But if you only have one Condi, you, so to say, waste a lot of your expertise that you put in, because 640 stats almost, that you put into something that you don't really care that much, because having only bleeding at 100% and all the other stuff is nice, yes, from the damage perspective, if you only do bleeding, but you can achieve that, for example, with runes. So if you, for example, if you go with the bleeding and look for that, and you can see, okay, we have the Rune of the Krite, that gives me 50% bleeding duration, yeah? So I don't have to invest a lot of stats to get this 50% already of what I want to get from just using this rune. And then you have in the Necromancer trade line, you also have some kind of durations increases, increased bleeding duration, 20% and something like that. If you all sum that up together and use, for example, the food as well, you actually get easily 100% of one condition if you know what you're doing. And you can have, so to say, let's say 600 or something stats, because the runes takes a little bit away of it. 600 or something stats that you can invest in something else. Yeah. And that means if you invest this 600 in power, ferocity and stuff, you can actually play a power weapon that scales with power very well, for example, greatsword and spear, on a build that actually does a lot of condi damage. And that's why grieving is so good on this build, because you only need one condition. You are right. If you have a boss that moves a lot, a bleeding build will deal way more damage than a boss that on a boss that is very mobile, because the torment will only deal half as much damage. So you're completely correct there. But for the most part, I would say almost all bosses in Guild Wars 2 actually move not a lot. There are not that many that really move around a lot. So I would say optimizing builds for that is only for really try-hard runs, where you would say, okay, on this fight, we have the boss moves around 20% of the time, so the build loses around this amount of damage, and then you have to calculate that stuff. But typically, I would say you can just look at the phases. Are there many phases? Is a power build better on that boss? Then a grieving build typically does better as well, because you have a higher amount of power damage. If you have a condi build, like for example an Alacrity Scourge or something, that has a very slow ramp up time, or you don't deal that much damage from power at all, typically on bosses that move a lot, that's shit. But typically also on bosses that have a lot of phases or very fast phases, condi builds like slow ramping condi builds like condi DPS Scourge and stuff are not as good. So that's the answer here. There are builds that are actually really good when it comes to that, but most condi builds don't. So even the grieving one is not that good there. So like I said, I would start with the Viper, go for full Viper, even play the full Viper variant in strikes and stuff. You will be totally fine. And if you want to min-max in, let's say, a year from now, and you are still loving Reaper and you want to play it, then you can think about going for a grieving build, because then you might have two build templates, for equipment templates rather, that you can equip and say, okay, I'm now in a group that needs even more damage and potentially a little bit more burst loaded, more front loaded. And then you go for the grieving variant. But in most cases, the damage output, if you're in a somewhat mediocre group, is probably quite similar. That's the short answer. Yeah. I hope that helps. Let's see what we can get. But like I said, I think it does not matter too much if you play something like that in strike missions, because there are almost all bosses have similar amount, in strike missions at least, of phases. In the easy ones, there are almost no phases, or only one has a real big phase. And the other things, it's typically not, I would say the moving part is not really the case. There are some raid bosses that actually move, but other than that, it's not often the case that you have strike mission bosses that move all the time. So I would not go and say, okay, Torment is shit to apply as a condition. I would not go so far as to say that. So let's do some strike missions. What do we have here? A heal. I love to play support because I don't feel so squishy as a DPS, but sometimes there's DPS needed and some other people want to support too, so I need to leave power DPS and Condi, of course. Yeah, I think, to be honest, if you like to play multiple classes, I would not go for something like play all the time all the same classes. So if you like to play Scholar classes, I would go for one Mesmer, one Elementalist, and one Necromancer. So if you're playing Healing Catalyst, I would go maybe for a Power Word, like you said, that's good. And then if you already have the power covered, I would say go for Condi Scourge or Condi Reaper. I would say there are not that many Condi bosses in the game, so I wouldn't say I would say that's the least priority for sure, that you need a Condi build. That's just how it is, I would say. There are not that many Condi bosses that are really necessary all the time. So just that you know. But typically, if you have a Condi boss, I would say I would go with this Condi Scourge, actually. Reason for that is Condi Reaper likes to be melee because of the Shroud. The Shroud is very melee focused. And why would you pick a Condi build? Typically, the boss is not Condi. Typically, the boss is ranged. So that's the very weird distinction that you have to make in Guild Wars 2. A lot of times Condi builds are ranged and power builds are melee. So people always think, oh, this is a Condi boss. But the real thing actually that they think about is this boss is actually a ranged boss. Yeah. And then if you play a Condi build, like a Condi Reaper, that is, let's say, if you play the Grieving variant, 100% melee, you have actually nothing that keeps you going and makes an argument for this build. So I would rather say play Condi Scourge, even though the DPS is lower than most other Condi builds, you have way more ranged uptime. You can actually play, let's say 95% of your skills are ranged. So you're very good at this kind of fights, and you are very, very good when it comes to supporting, even though you're power or DPS build. Yeah, so really, really good, I would say. I would highly recommend to start out as a Condi Scourge, just because I think Condi Scourge, ooh, yeah. Always forget to check if I am on the correct trade. On another topic from medium armor, what supports would you recommend? Druid Enchi variant or maybe Spectre. So it depends a bit on the playstyle that you enjoy. So for example, if you enjoy to really play a full support that does all the mechanics, then I would say Druid is superior. Druid is the best support in that sense, even better than Chrono, I would say. Just because Druid is so flexible with the weapon choices and what you can bring to your party, especially in raids, that you are known as the, yeah, how would I say, the, so to say, mechanic guy. Yeah, so you do all the mechanics. Yeah, oftentimes in some raid fights there are 9 people that don't do anything, and the Druid does everything. Yeah, that's often the case in raids. So that means if you don't like to be that guy, I would not go with Druid, because that is very, very commonly the case. So you can be, so to say, the off healer, the second person that is actually not the main mechanic person. Of course, if you're only talking about strike mission, that kind of stuff, it's not that important that you know about that, just that you are aware of that. Okay, let's see if we can get this CC here. No. So that's the first thing. And then I would say Healing Mechanist I'm not the greatest fan of, just because I think Healing Mechanist is a bit overrated. It's really annoying actually to help your party with this, because you're always very reliant on the mech to be next to your party. Sometimes it runs off, and it's a little bit annoying. I think it was once very, very strong, but they nerfed it down so much that it's not anymore. So I would say Healing Mech I'm not the biggest fan. Healing Scrapper is actually underrated. I think Healing Scrapper is a very good pick. So if you enjoy Enchi, I would go for Healing Scrapper actually. Healing Untamed is also possible, by the way, but Healing Untamed lacks stability, so I would say it falls off the tier. So what I would recommend is, if you're Engineer enjoyer, I would go for Healing Scrapper. Weirdly enough, yes. If you are Ranger enjoyer and want to be a guy that carries the group by doing all the mechanics, then Druid is really the best, because it's so great what it can do. And talking about Healing Spectre, which is the only healer that Thief has access to, I will do a build guide about it next week, so don't worry about that. I already prepared some stuff. I'm still editing, but I'm at it, don't worry. It is actually, after the patch, really good. It is really, really good. It's crazy how easy you can upkeep your boons. And it's also, I would say, the easiest support of those medium armor classes to play. Just because you have to play 3 different buttons pressing, and that's it. However, the skill ceiling on this build is the highest, because you are single targeting. So that means that you have to always have an ally targeted, and that makes it a little bit gimmicky. Guild Wars 2 is not designed in a way that you have to target your ally. So I, as a Chronomancer, can just use my AoE skills and they will heal. But a Spectre can't do that. You have to target an ally. And targeting an ally can be really annoying, especially if they're doing mechanics, so they are far away from you, and that means that your group doesn't receive the heal. So Spectre, in that sense, needs accurate positioning, and is a little bit annoying to actually get used to. But if you get used to it, I would say it's actually the second best healer in this spot after Druid. Yeah, so I would say Druid is the best healer all around, if you're not going for Fractals, because in Fractals, Druid is actually not that good. if you want to play something, I don't know, newer, then I would go with the healing Spectre. But wait for the healing guide about that. Yeah. How good is Spectre overall? So I would say Spectre is one of the probably the best thief specs in PvE all around. The reason for that is it can play all three roles. You can play as a DPS, a full DPS. It's really good, especially in Fractals. If you play, for example, on Fractals, Condi Thief or Condi Spectre in, let's say, 99 or 98 CM, it's extremely good. It has probably the highest DPS there, just because of the Venoms and stuff. It's really, really good. If you don't want to go full DPS because it's only power available, all the other variants are not that good. It's really important that you play power. Condi, rather, sorry, no power variant. And that means that if you want to play power, you have to go for the other thief specs. But other than that, you can play Alacrity DPS. It's also very good. It has a lot of cool things baked into the kit, which means resistance. You have actually a really high amount, and that I'm not joking, a high amount of barrier and cleanses, even though you're support or an offensive supporter. So that means you are really valuable to your group. You're a very valuable asset. And then lastly, you have a Healing Spectre, which I'm talking about just now. So Healing Spectre, in my opinion, is very, very good. It's after the recent balance patch, it's received so many different buffs to its Shroud skills, so that it's actually crazy how much different utilities you can actually baseline have. So I would say Healing Spectre is very, very good after this patch. I would say it's an A tier build, even maybe a low S tier build if you're thinking about it. It's really, really good. It's gimmicky in that sense. You have to learn to target one ally. That's in Guild Wars 2 not often the case, but if you come from another MMO, that's always the case. You know, look at World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy. There are always tap target MMOs that target one person and then you heal them. Spectre does the same. Spectre is a little bit different in that sense because you heal AoE around the target. So that means that your target will still get the healing and your allies around the target will also get it. But you have to still target an ally. That's the weird part. Guild Wars 2 doesn't normally have that. But if you are fine with that, it's a very, very good healer. And I would say that's why I would put it as an overall very, very strong spec, just because you have so many options. It's so flexible. Yeah. And when you think about PvP and World vs. World, I think it's been in a healthy spot. In contrast to a lot of other thief specs that either are really bad or really, really broken. Spectre is always in some kind of decent spot. It's always playable in that game mode. It's not broken in that sense, but it's always playable. So I think it's very good build and very unique in that sense. So can recommend overall. Very good spec. So are you guys doing a lot of strike missions, or are you just playing other things in PvE, or maybe don't even play PvE? Because I was thinking about what I want to do for Tierlist today. I have two choices. One of them would be strike mission Tierlist, about how I think the strike missions are designed and stuff. If you are interested in it, we can do that. I have another choice as well, if you don't want to go for strike missions. Let's see what the majority votes for, let's say. Yeah, I know you do a lot of stuff. You do play all the different things. I'm a PvP player, but trying to get into PvE stuff, especially Fractals. Yeah, I would say if you're a PvP player, Spectre is actually surprisingly well in Fractals. That's the crazy part. It is one of the best thief specs for Fractals because it has a Condi build, which is really, really good for, like I said, the CMs. And it has some kind of support builds. I would say Healing Spectre is actually in Fractals also very decent because you can apply a lot of stability, you have immense amount of cleanses, and you have decent boon uptime. And of course healing and barrier. And that helps all. So I would say it's probably the third best, if not, maybe it's the second best support in Fractals. So if you want to get in Fractals and want to play a support, it's a very good option. If you want to play a DPS build, it's only good in the Condi fights. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that as well. It's actually really insane that our World versus World matchup is actually really, really bad. It's horrible. I tried it out a few times in the evening to join some just random Zerg play, and they are so bad. We die all the time. It's not fun at all. So I just did not play a lot of World versus World recently, which is really sad. Even though we had the big buff, I think, with the Greater Call of the Mist, or what it's called. It's really sad, actually. Really, really sad. I mean, but what can you do? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, you know. That's just how the World versus World matchup goes. Yeah, it's really sad that sometimes you just get matched, of course, with really experienced or really crazy good people, and then you have some very outnumbered or very unfair situations. I think that just happens, but I noticed that as well, that the last 2 weeks for our server were really rough. So I think it's probably our server being bad rather than the other servers being good. Yeah. I don't know. It's just... for me, as a PvX player, I would say I just don't play a lot of World versus World then, when I noticed that, just because I don't want to be farmed all the time. But if you only play World versus World, or you want to farm something specific, I feel you. That's really bad, yeah. Yeah, of course, that makes sense. I mean, it's with the alliances and stuff, you always have some kind of varying degree between having classes, or guilds rather, that are very specialized and really try hard, and they can fight with 15 people against 30 just because they're really, really good. But if you don't have that on your server, it feels bad. Yeah, it's just sad. But it's like it is, like I said. It's World versus World, you can't change that. But that's why I really encourage people to play PvX in Guild Wars 2, just that you can swap to a different game mode when this week, or when there's a reason to stop playing a specific game mode, you go to the other one and you will be fine, I think. And have fun and come back to the other one if you feel like it's better now. It's just my opinion, but at least I'm very... I think it's really important. That's why I don't really invest a lot of time in World versus World right now, but I will be probably in the future. So yeah, of course, if you're going for legendaries like conflicts and stuff, it's a little bit more annoying. You are really, I don't know, just stuck to one thing that you have to farm over and over. Yeah, I get that. But that's the cool thing, that you can actually farm all the legendaries at the same time. So if there's something going on in one game mode that you don't enjoy, or you're just burned out of something, you can swap to a different one. You don't have to get the legendary right now. Yeah. Oh, you already have all the mods. Okay. Yeah, I mean, then, of course, that's takes a while. Yeah. I was lucky back then when they released it. It had a lot of tickets and stuff just saved up over the years. So for me, it was not that big of a grind. It was more like to get those, how is it called? Emblems. Yeah, those emblems here. Because I think those emblems were introduced with Conflux. And that means that you couldn't get them before. When it comes to PvE and the raid trinkets, I would say the raid trinkets are actually, in my opinion at least, way more user-friendly than, for example, Aurora and Vision. Aurora and Vision force you to do stuff that some people really dislike, going for achievements and that kind of stuff. Aurora and Vision are therefore, I would say, easier to get for people that don't want to go into raids, of course. But if you don't mind going into raids and having some kind of a little bit harder content to do, I think they are easier to do, because the achievements are really, really easy to get. It's just running around the map for, I don't know, 1 hour. And then you have to get the full amount of legendary divinations or insight, however they are called. So I think it's actually very, very easy if you play raids consistently, because you get so many of these allies and stuff. It's actually not that hard. But if you don't play raids, it can be way more of a grind because you have to play every single week to get the easy raid bosses that you can do, and then it's a little bit more annoying. Yeah. Ah, okay, so you have to grind masteries as well. Yeah, I don't know about that. For me, it was always, I do always the masteries when they were released, so for me, it's never the mastery grind, but I can see that, why that is a little bit annoying, of course. I would say, try to be positive about it. Try to think like that. You have so much different stuff that you can actually do. You will be so sad if you reach everything, because then you won't have any goals anymore. So be happy about that. Look at me, I don't have any goals anymore in Guild Wars 2 when it comes to long-term grinding goals and that kind of stuff. So always be happy that you have something to work towards too. I think that's, you should be happy about the journey you're on and not always see, oh, there's so much to do. It's really important. No, I'm not sad. I'm not sad at all. I like to play the game. My journey right now is more like playing Guild Wars 2 and having fun with the community, playing for interactions, playing for content, for YouTube, for Twitch, for having fun. That's what I am all about, yeah, currently. That's what my goal is. But when I just look at Guild Wars 2, then I just say, okay, I completely stop producing content, then I would not be sure what I would do, what I would actually do Guild Wars 2 for. Yeah, that's just my thing. Yeah, maybe I'm just coaching. Yeah, maybe I'm a coach. Yeah, after all. Need full craft from Soto to make PvE legendary armor. Yeah, I mean that's a grind. I have to say that's a big grind. I think there are 2 grinds actually for the PvE legendary armor that are really crazy. So the first one is the essences. So you need a lot of those rift essences. Those are really, really crazy how much you need actually. I can recommend to you to do every single day the convergences. Yes, that's a little bit annoying. I know. But I think the convergences are very easy to actually get a hang of and actually join all the time at the same time. That's very nice in my opinion, that they always are at the same time. You can just join the public ones. If you can find CMs, it's even better because the CMs give you way more rewards. So always do those and maybe the daily rift, the weekly rifts. And then I think after a few weeks, you're actually done with the rift hunting stuff. So the rift hunting stuff is, in my opinion, not that hard. What is really annoying to me, at least back at the day for me, was the, how's it called? The meta events. The meta events were such a grind. The meta events were horrible. Just because I don't like the meta events, they are quite long, they are quite boring, and that was horrible to me. Yeah, just for my personal taste. I was grinding them for weeks because I needed all pieces, so all the suffused ones. I needed all the 3 armor weights. That was really, really annoying to grind. But now I have it. I'm happy to never have to go back to the Soto map. So it was really, really bad. Yeah. And it could make an NPC modeled after you. I mean, some content creators actually got some NPCs, but not me yet. Maybe in the future. Is it worth fully completing map and doing all story content? If so, what do you get? So I would say doing all story content is not worth it. So you can do, of course, do the main story and that's it. And you can be happy and get the achievements, get access to the maps. So I would do it once, do the main story, play it through. That's it. I wouldn't go for anything more than that. So I would not go for creating a different race and going for playing those races storylines through as well. I would never do that. I would only play one character, play the story through, and that's it. Especially the expansion stories give you access to the new maps and stuff, so sometimes it's really important that you do that. But other than that, nothing. And if it comes to map completion, if you don't like to do map completion, that's the important part, you don't have to do it. There's nothing that really keeps you from not doing map completion. Map completion gives you access to stuff that you need for legendaries. So if you want to go for legendaries yourself and don't buy them from the TP, then you should probably go for map completions. But if you just don't want to do legendaries or you want to buy them from the TP, you never have to do map completions. Map completions are not necessary at all. say how much of a difference do stat infusions make. So for healing, I would say it's really just a convenience. Typically, you don't die or your party doesn't die because you don't have the stat infusions. So I would say as a healer, don't worry about it. I think that's the most over the top thing that you could get for your build. Because if your party dies, it's probably because they get bursted from something, they failed to a mechanic. If you're doing your job as a healer, you won't notice the difference between having healing infusions and don't having them. So that's just my idea, yeah? And then for DPS builds, typically it's around 5%. That's the short answer. You can make out of that what you want, because some people say 5%, that's huge. But then on the other hand, some people also say, okay, I typically bench around 80% of the benchmark. So I get 5% more if I go with infusions. I'm still 15% off then. So is it really worth it for me to invest in infusions there or just increase my skill of the build? I'm not sure. Just saying, typically I would say the infusions are not that important if you rather improve your rotation. Typically, if you improve your rotation and get it to 95%, you would be around 100. If maybe it depends on the build. Sometimes it's 2 to 3% from the infusions. Some builds are really important. For example, if you play, I think DPS offensive Boon Chronomancer uses 4 precise infusions. Those are actually more important than other infusions because you need those to crit cap. So that's a little bit different then, but typically it's around, let's say, 2.5 to 5%, depending on the build. So I would say typically not as important as people make it out to be, especially if you don't know the rotation perfectly. Yeah. No, I think actually if you count all the stats together, it's around 90. So it's actually almost 100. It's actually not to be underestimated just from the stats. But if you look at how much the rotation matters and how little the actual stats in the infusions matter, I would say it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, Wolfie. Thanks a lot. If I think about it hard, Lure sounds kind of like summer. I'm not sure. I actually don't listen too much to NPCs. I don't mind having an NPC or something. It's fine if I don't. I'm happy to play the game and make content for the game. And I'm still hoping for Guild Wars 3 in the future, and maybe I get an NPC there. That would be good. Let's see. So I hope, Galen, that answers your question regarding the infusions. Because I can't give you a suggestion here and say, do this and do that, because in my opinion, it always depends on the player. So I personally, when I go and play one DPS build really hard and I want to play it perfectly and want to optimize it just to the optimum, to the maximum, I would go with infusions. But that's just me because I have nothing else to grind for. Yeah. But if you're playing 7 different builds and you want to just have fun and play different builds, I would not go in for infusions because that's way too expensive anyway. Yeah. I mean, you can of course go for the World versus World infusions. Those are really cheap. I have a lot of characters that I actually use them on because those just give you the stats and don't give you any agony. So if you don't play your characters in fractals, that's the way to go. It's very cheap and you can actually get the infusions and you get the full stats. But if you plan to play fractals with those, you actually have a bit of a problem because the agony infusions are necessary to play fractals. So if you don't have those, you will be in a bad spot. So you have to swap to the agony infusions before fractals. It's a little bit annoying. So that's why I would say fractal characters have to get the agony infusions. Very classic. People can't read. People go to what they like and not go to the subgroup split. You see it. 1 person difference. Oh, I mean, 2 in that sense. We have 6, the other guys have 4. But regarding infusions, I think they should completely rework the system of infusions. I really think so. I think the infusion system, especially when it comes to fractals, is really annoying. It's really hard to get into as a new player just because it's not really well explained, and it's not really... It doesn't really serve a purpose other than giving you more resistance against the agony in fractals, which is obviously, I don't know, very niche. So I just would say make agony account-wide and make infusions only become cosmetic. So that means that your infusions are used for getting chuck infusions in and that kind of stuff, and making those infusions account bound as soon as you get them. So if you get a skin, like a Blackline skin, you can sell it, but as soon as you store it in your wardrobe, which would be your infusion wardrobe, so to say, you would lock the skin and you will, so to say, lose the ability to sell it, but you can use it on every single character. I think that would be amazing, and then they could make the old infusion system completely unnecessary. That would be amazing in my opinion. I'm not sure if they will ever do that, just because it's a big rework. I'm not sure if they want to go and make big reworks about Guild Wars 2 anymore, because it seems like they don't do a lot of new stuff for Guild Wars anymore. I'm not sure. But in my opinion, that would be really, really good for almost all type of players. Hardcore players would like it, and I think new players would also like it, just because it would make the game mode way more easy to access. You can play fractals and just grind the agony, account-wide agony once, and then you can use all your characters in fractals and not have to worry about the infusions for the next character. I think that would be a big plus. But I'm not sure if everyone agrees there, of course. There are some people that might enjoy that or might not enjoy it, I don't know. What do you think of the Conde Maker? Good DPS? Is it a good class to play? Yes, it's a very good class. I would say it's surprisingly easy, and it has a very, very high benchmark. So that means you can play it as a DPS without too much of a learning aspect. So you just play it and try to get your rotation and build correct. And with the recent spear nerfs, its buffs actually, rather, sorry, is really, really, really good. I really can't stress it enough. It's one of the best Condi builds out there to play right now. So if you enjoy mech, that's the build to go for. It's really, really good. It lacks a bit in utility, so you can't really carry your group with CC and stuff, but you don't always have to do that, you know. If you bring a lot of DPS, typically that's also very good. So I would say very good option there. Let's see, 12 seconds for 12%. Oh, we get it, very nice. Yeah. But I think the recent balance patch, they actually made a lot of builds that are actually very decent when it comes to just DPS output. So Condi Mech is in a very good spot there. But be aware though, you're playing a Condi build. Condi builds are not always favored. Some bosses, for example, if you look at raids, Summerrock, where you have 10 phases or something, maybe even 12, Condi builds are really bad there. Yeah. So if you have a lot of phases, don't play those Condi builds. But for a lot of strike missions, even fractals, it's actually okay. Just saying, Condi Mech, highly underrated, really, really good build. Especially as a beginner, I would say. Especially as a beginner. But even as a veteran, it's really good. So, now let's find a fractal group. And then we can do a tier list. So what would you like to do? I have two options. I won't say the exact thing what I want to do. Just want to get your opinion here. Are you interested in some kind of fashion related stuff? Or are you interested in some kind of gameplay related stuff? So I'm not talking about elite specs. I always talk about elite specs, I feel like, in my tier list. So that's not the thing. But are you interested about PvE gameplay related stuff? Or are you interested in fashion related stuff? Because we can do both. I have both prepared. Just let me know what you want to see. Welcome, Cow, welcome. Hope you had a nice day so far. And second, let's go into Fractals first. Yeah, I mean, it's if you just started Guild Wars again, that's a really good option. I mean, Condi Mech is really, really good. Yeah. Welcome, Banyash. Welcome. Hope you had a nice day so far. So I think there are a lot of, actually I noticed a lot of people are coming back to Guild Wars 2 right now. I think that's a very big plus. That means that Guild Wars 2 is doing something correctly, or more likely the other games or people that actually played Guild Wars 2 back in the days now decided that Guild Wars 2 is a better option than a lot of other games. That is probably more the case. Just, I don't know. I think it's really interesting in my opinion. I think we have a lot of people that play WoW, Final Fantasy, OSRS, and Guild Wars 2 right now. I think those 4 MMOs are actually probably the most played MMOs right now, because a lot of people that play other MMOs just come back and see that the old games are actually, I don't know, just having more content, surprisingly. Who would have thought? So I think that's really interesting. I'm really not surprised by that, but it's really fun to see that Guild Wars 2 doesn't release a lot of content and people still come back. It's not like Guild Wars 2's content is bad, by no means. Just saying that it's surprising to me that people like to come back after all these years, because Guild Wars 2 did not change too much. We got more content, but the game is still the same. So that's a big plus in my opinion. I played it since release, but just saying. So A, DPS, yes, correct. After playing New World, I couldn't go back to pure tap targeting. Guild Wars 2 feels like a nice middle ground, and I hadn't played since pre-expansion, so I have been hooked. Yeah, it's a good point actually. I think Guild Wars 2's combat is the biggest selling point of the game, in my opinion, because it's so dynamic, while still having some familiarity to people that come from older tap target games, because you still have some kind of target and you can't really say it's fully action combat. I mean, you can play with action cam and then you would have some kind of fully action combat style, but it's not perfect. So I would say Guild Wars 2 dynamic tap targeting is really, really good. Yeah. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 has a big positive when it comes to the various just combat enhancement that they got over the years with all the different weapons, elite specs and stuff. I think that's a big plus. We have so much depth now. I think if you come back to the game, you have actually a lot of fun with it. So, I mean, also if you come from New World, I would say it's actually rather similar. A lot of people in Guild Wars 2 actually quit for New World back when New World released, just because it was quite similar and had probably something that was really close to Guild Wars 2, but then they decided to go in a different route. Just how it goes. So glad that you are back at Guild Wars. Yeah. I think Guild Wars 2 has a lot to offer and is a lot of fun. I've played a lot of World of Warcraft, but somehow I'm really drawn to Guild Wars 2 at the moment. The combat system is really nice. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think if you come from World of Warcraft, the combat system in Guild Wars 2 is actually very decent in comparison to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft might feel a little bit rusty, old, in my opinion. But don't get me wrong, I think World of Warcraft is the best MMO. Oh no, people die. No, that's not good. Wait, they all take orb. No, that's good. So, I think for me, Guild Wars 2 is very good. I think when it comes to graphics, there's, of course, you can have different opinions, but I think it's okay. But when it comes to combat, I think Guild Wars 2 is probably the best of those 4 MMOs that I just mentioned that are so popular, just because it's so dynamic and it's just very modern in that sense. It feels not that rusty that you have to stand still when you cast stuff that often. It's really nice. But of course, it's my opinion. I'm a little bit biased. I play a lot of Guild Wars 2. Just saying. Yeah. Your content has really helped me since coming back in the last few months, so thanks. Yeah, glad I could help. I'm always happy if I can help people with my content, so thanks for sharing this experience. Really like to hear those comments. Yeah, I think that's also a big plus of Guild Wars 2, that you can have so much alt friendliness. So it's very, very easy to have different characters and play them consistently, especially when you have, for example, how is it called, ascended gear and stuff. You can have the best weapons and the best armors and swap them around, at least if they have the same choices that you need. So, and even if you have legendaries, it's even better. It's really alt friendly in that sense. So I think that's something that is a really big plus. Of course, it's not as class friendly as Final Fantasy, where you can play all classes on one character. That's not as much, but we are very close, I would say. World combat is great. World is always populated. There are events always going on, and I join the PvP, which is always my main focus in MMOs. Yeah, that's a good point here. I would say the PvP in Guild Wars 2 is very, very good, but that's the sad part. Really, if you think about World versus World, so why did I, there it is. So if you think about World versus World, it's very unique. Not a lot of games actually have World versus World. It's just very, very special. Yeah, having to fight 50 versus 50 and making it without any big lags, it's really, really good. But, and that's the sad part here, if you think about, for example, PvP, so structured PvP, it is very, very good in Guild Wars 2. Sadly, the population is quite low. So that typically means that the matches are not that crazy fair. So sometimes you have matches that are just stomps in one direction or the other. But at least you have, I don't know, I think it's a very fun game mode. I play it all the time. Just saying, don't expect too much of a competitive environment if you play structured PvP 5 versus 5, just because it seems like there are not too many people playing it right now. Yeah. But World versus World is so unique and so fun, in my opinion. I think that deserves a spot in the best PvP MMOs. Just baseline. Welcome, Snowdrop. Welcome. What do you think is the best Condi class for World vs. World roaming, fighting against player clearing camps and so on? Ooh, that's a tough one. What is the best Condi class here? Probably Celestial Harbinger. Something. I think Celestial Harbinger is really, really good. It's even after the Celestial nerfs, it's still a broken class by its design when it comes to Celestial stats, even with the loss of expertise and concentration. So I would highly recommend to try this one out. I think it... What? Oh, okay. In my opinion, very important aspect here is that you have a lot of sustain while still dealing a lot of damage. I think it's a very good class. And I'm not sure. Condi, I think the problem is you can play some kind of really nasty, tanky Trailblazer stuff, but I don't enjoy that. I think it feels so bad. And therefore, Celestial is the only stat type that is really good. Maybe some kind of Ritualist variant could also work, but other than that, I don't know. I think Condi is in a weird spot in World vs. World roaming. I think you either play a full power build or you play a Celestial build and that's it. So, that's just my take here. Oh, so many red fields. I found out the hard way into queued at deep night is a bad for... Yeah, I would never play at night. I think for me, that's the sad part. If you want to have some really fair games where you could learn a lot and improve at the game mode in PvP, I would say play at prime time. So if you're in EU, something around, let's say, 5 PM to 11 PM, something like that. Never play before or after that, because you will just get matches that are completely unfair. You will queue into duo platinum players that will just get in there for rating. And don't try to have any fair matches then. I think you might be lucky and get it, but it's not always the case. So that's just what my experience here is as a solo queue player that wants to have fun, wants to improve at the game. Just try to play at prime time and you will be way better off. Yeah. Yeah, I think Celestial Harbinger is a very... I think it's just broken by design, and you should try it out as a Condi build for roaming for sure. Oh, this Fractal is so annoying. takes forever. Yeah, Willbender is still very good in roaming. It's not as good as before. You will be outclassed by others. For example, I think, for example, Power Herald is very good right now. It's very, very good. No. So, just my take here. Let me concentrate here shortly, because I don't want to wipe our group. I gotta try more World vs. World and practice roaming. I need to put out the time, I'm sure. Full Ascended World vs. World setup. Yeah, I think that's the important part. If you play PvP, you can play without any gear. That's the cool thing. But if you think about World vs. World, especially in roaming, I would say you can actually sometimes feel the difference. So Ascended gear gives you maybe 10% of a stat boost. And especially it gives you also more defense. So if you're outnumbered in roaming and don't have Ascended gear, you can feel the difference. So just want to put it out there, and sometimes can make the difference. Yeah. Yeah, there is a meme build. Oh, you should not stand in the field here. Can someone rest me? Maybe. Never stand in the green fields. I did not notice that, and you should not read chat here. Normally, I'm totally fine and just wait until the boss does it. But if you read chat while you do that, you don't see the green field. It's not good. So let's finally kill this guy, and then I can catch up to chat. Yeah, there is a minstrel harp build. I wanted to make a build guide about it, but at the same time, I think it's such a troll build. It's really annoying to only use lifesteal to kill people. That's really annoying. I don't know. Condi Harbinger lags by kiting. It depends. It's actually not that slow. You have, if you can also go for speed rune, and then it would be or speed relic. It's actually also very decent. It depends. I think it's decent. It's not as fast as, for example, Willbender for sure, but it's not that bad. PvP is a good gold farm to spam if you're just practicing your combo even off prime time though. Yeah, of course. I would say PvP is decent when it comes to what you get rewards wise, and if you have fun doing it, don't mind going for it. Just saying, if you want to have fair matches, I would not play off time in the night and stuff. That's my point here. Yeah, I'm not talking about that it's not fun. You can still have fun and get good rewards there. Yeah. What's your opinion on full Celestial Harbinger with Staff Pistol Torch for roaming? Yes, it's very good. I would say it's probably one of the best roaming builds right now. So please go for it if you want to have the best meta option. Yeah. Yeah, this fractal before is just, it takes forever. It's horrible. I really hate it. It feels at least like that because you don't have any feel differences. It's always the same. It's not changing. It's always the same. Do you have a build about Yes, I have it. I can link it after this fractal, or you can just search Celestial Harbinger on my YouTube channel and you should find it. It's really, really, really good. And it's still up to date. You can still run this build the same. Nothing changed there. Even after the last 2 balance patches, actually. Yeah. I mostly played Willbender on Guardian, but I've been playing DH recently, and I enjoyed it more in PvE. But I actually have been enjoying it in SPVP. Yeah, I mean, I would say Willbender is actually got a little bit of a nerf in PvP, and a lot of people noticed that Dragon Hunter is also a very valuable pack, and with the buffs in PvE to Dragon Hunter, a lot of people actually came back to Dragon Hunter because Dragon Hunter in PvE is now one of the best DPS. It's very, very good. Amazing burst, amazing long sustained fight damage as well. It's really good. I would highly recommend to try out Dragon Hunter in both game modes. It's actually surprising how good it is. Yeah. Yeah, I think the concept of Spear 2 or Necromancer is actually so toxic. It's crazy. The lifesteal and the resetting is so toxic that people, especially new people, don't understand how it works and just get farmed by it consistently. I think that's very crazy, and I have to be honest. I think it's a bit of an issue. I think it should not be that broken. They nerfed a bit the damage, but it's still so good. It's so good. It's actually crazy. I don't know. I think this build, it doesn't really matter what kind of harp you're playing. Spear is just very, very good. It's crazy. Even on Reaper, it's actually very decent. But on Harp, of course, with the blood magic and the blight stuff, it actually works a lot better than that. Yeah. Is the video about the Spear Harp or is it Pistol Torch? It's Pistol Torch. The Spear Harp is a newer one. So the Celestial one is a little bit older. I can maybe look for it right now. Let's see if my party supports me here. Give me a second. It's not loading. Not good, it's not loading. Give me a second. There we go. Sorry, have to kill the boss first and then I can send you the link. I don't want to grieve the group here. It's always a little bit doing fractals and reading the chat at the same time is always a little bit sketchy, but if I also have to look at for a link, then sometimes it gets a little bit too much for me to handle all the time, so I'm not that good at multitasking. Give me a second, we will kill this and face it, and then we can actually, I can send you the link to the video. Then you don't have to look it up for yourself. I'm almost got the DPS, almost got the DPS player as a DPS offensive support. Almost. So there we go. Now I think I have the link. That should be the video. Yes, and it's in the Twitch chat right now. Would you consider making a video? I actually have a video about Plish. I have a video about the Plish hut. Yeah, I already have a video about the Plish hut, so just check it out. It's actually quite recently, I think 2 weeks ago or something I released it. So it's a video about Plish hut and stuff. I will do more Plish hut, or not Plish hut, probably more the other add-ons like Arc TPS, maybe even Nexus, depending on how they develop that kind of stuff. And so there will be more add-on videos in the future, but Plish hut, I already have a guide about it. So be sure to check that out. It's on my YouTube. Yeah. Started using Blish for the mouse cursor after seeing Simmers. Yeah, I mean, I made a lot of advertising for that because it's always on my videos and stuff. But I think it's a very good add-on. So that's why I like to advertise it or promote it a bit. So it works decently well in what it wants to do. I don't use every single module of that, of course, but I can say it's working very nicely. Yeah. No problem. Yeah, I mean, you have to be honest. So, Cow, it looks like I'm doing not that good in this fractal, but the thing is, the other guys here are not that crazy good either. And that's why it doesn't look that bad. If you would have people that are really, really good, then sometimes it would look completely different and I would only have half the DPS of a DPS player. So that's what I meant. And the other thing is, I played this fractal so often, I can do it almost blindly. So that's just the truth here. But of course, you're right. It's a little bit, I'm not doing completely garbage. I'm not dead and I do some DPS as well. Yeah, that's cool. So now we have to CC. Let's make sure that we have a double CC. No, maybe don't need it actually. Very good. Yeah, and this fractal is also not that hard. I have to be honest. If you understand what the mechanics are, it's actually very easy. I would say it's one of the best challenge modes from a design perspective. I would say it's not a perfect fractal for me because it feels like more like a strike mission for 5 people, but from a design perspective, how it is designed as a fight and how the mechanics work, it's really nice. That's why I also understand it so in my sleep, so to say. Yeah. I just made my Mesmer somewhat recently because I was so sick of dealing with Virtuosos and SPVP. Would you recommend learning Mirage first? Ooh, I mean, Mirage is really, really good right now. But the thing is, if you can't play it, it is not that good. Mirage is very hard. It's way harder than Virtuoso. Way harder. So if you want to play some kind of offensive build, Mirage is a very good option, but be sure that you understand playing Mirage in SPVP, the first 10, maybe the first 20 games, you will feed. You will feed hard. So it's not a build that plays itself. Virtuoso is a little bit easier, so maybe you start with Virtuoso and go for Mirage after that. But Virt is completely different from Mirage. Mirage is so much more fast-paced and so squishy. You only have your dodges and that's it. So just keep that in mind, yeah. No problem. I mean, I can also send you the link. Now I just have actually time, so I can also send you the Blishard link. Give me a second. So here it is in YouTube chat. That's the Blishard video. I wonder why feedback strat for at Dark IS so on. Granted, I learned about it a month ago myself. Yeah, I mean, tell me how does it work? What should I do? So that I can use it the next time as well. I've been playing Word. I still feel trash compared to my Willbender Deadeye, but I want to get better at Mesmer. Yeah, I think Mesmer in general is a little bit harder to play than a lot of other builds. That's just how it works. Mesmer is more squishy and a little bit... I don't know, it's just harder to play in that sense. But it can pull off amazing things in PvP. So I would say no stability. So in my opinion, Mesmer, very great to learn, but hard to master. Yeah, you basically feedback her dodge to reflect the light beam. Seems to do good damage. Yeah, okay. I mean, I expected that actually, that it is those attacks. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I could have done it actually as a support Mesmer. Yeah, sounds good. Should do it next time then. I mean, you could see that typically this is it was a so-called Condi boss, the last two fights, and I did almost out-damaged our DPS, or third DPS player, as a power build. So it's not really... No, come on. It's not really like you have to play a Condi build there if you have some range baked into the kit. It's actually working quite decently as well. Of course, my boon stacking is a little bit lackluster, especially on this fight here. But can you do? What can you do? Only if you play meta, it's harder to learn, but Condi Mirage or any Condi Mesmer is decently low. Decent in low tier games. Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Condi Mirage is okay. Of course, you also have access to those, how is it called? The power block Condi Mirage. That was really back in the day. It was really, really good back in the day. But nowadays, it's not as good anymore. So I would say Condi Mirage is decent. Oh, did I not put it? What happened to my portal? So for me, I would say Power Mirage is just outclassing all other power builds right now, or all other bursty builds in all tiers, just because you can farm people with it. But you have to understand that you have to play the build for quite a while to make it actually that good. Because it's not playing itself. You get killed so easily. You have a lot of damage, but you need to learn to survive. On a Condi Mirage, you don't have that issue too much, but you're still quite squishy, and therefore you get farmed by another good Mirage. So I would say Condi Mirage quite a bit of lower in the damage potential or the usefulness. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Snowdrop. Thanks, yeah. You had mentioned in one of your recent videos you were looking to make a DH PvP video. Definitely looking forward to that. It's different than Willbender, and I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, Willbender is just very fast-paced and DH is a little bit slower. So I think, I'm not completely sure. There are so many Dragon Hunter builds out there. So you can play some kind of bunkery DH, you can play some kind of longbow, really classical trapper DH. There are so many options for how to play DH. So I'm not completely sure what is the best. So maybe I can figure that out before I make the video. What is going on? How did he know that? Yeah, so just that you know, yeah. Yes, Farwood, thanks for being there anyway. See you later then. Yeah, I mean, PvP, I don't know. I like to play fractals and talk about stuff, but typically it's a lot of stuff happening on the screen, so I can't recommend you to watch it if you have some problems with that much happening. So I agree with that. Yeah. Strongbow. I'm new here. Would you consider warrior as an all-rounder class to enjoy? Is it forgiving to play on the end game? I would say warrior is in a decent spot. Is it an all-rounder spec? I'm not so sure. I think warrior is one of the specs that is actually not that much of an all-rounder. Sadly. Yeah. Okay, we have one... Oh, we have a thief that reflects. I'm not sure if I can trust it. Just in my opinion, warrior is a good spec in PvE. In the competitive modes, what are they doing? So just in my opinion, warrior is a very good spec for people that like to play duels and stuff and have a very to the ground thing. But it's not overall, I would say, the best spec or class to play just because it lacks, for example, a healer, in my opinion. It's not really played as a healer. If you like to play healers, that's not what you should do. If you don't want to play a duelist and play some kind of team fighter in PvP, it's also not the spec for you. I think warrior is in a weird spot. It is very niche what it does. So that's my point there. But it's very good in endgame, in solo gameplay and stuff. It's very, very good. But that's of course just my take here. Let's kill this. Mostly playing sword shield, longbow. Nice to play ranged versus spear, swords and wilbur, but I have seen some nasty DH too. Sword shield, longbow, that's the old build. That's the classic, the very classic build, but it works very decently still as a DH. So very, very good. But there is some kind of scepter, shield, and pistol build for the side note as well. That's also very, very good. I don't know. There are so many options there. Yeah. Longbow greatsword for PvE. That's the one. Yeah. DH. That's the build that I was talking about. That is really, really popular now after the longbow buffs. So really, really good. So let's concentrate here. Why is everyone dead already? It's not fun. Please. One second, I have to concentrate here. Did you ever think about doing a series like Zero to Hero? Yes, I was thinking about it, but there are so many people in the Guild Wars 2 community that already did it. I'm not sure if I would add too much value of doing it again. So if you're interested in it, please let me know. If there are a lot of people interested in it, that I do it, I would do it, of course. Especially nowadays, there might be some differences here, for sure. But that was close. But there are so many videos already out there from Zero to Hero and people that do it. So I wanted... my videos are always aimed at providing something new, yeah? And doing something that other people did not do before. At least I want to try it and do it a little bit better, up to date, or whatever. And if I would do a Zero to Hero, sometimes I feel like it's almost the same, like Yeah, someone else did already. Just saying. But if there is a lot of interest, I might do it. Yeah. Yeah, I think the H in PvP, I would say, has a lot of options, but it's not a meta build by any means. I think it's too weak for that. You can play it in rank perfectly fine, but playing PvP with a DH and expecting to be very good and winning monthly ATs with it is unlikely, to be honest. Yeah, just saying. 0 to hero without killing a single mob. That, I mean, I could do that, to be honest. I think I could do that. I think it's possible. The thing is, would that be fun to watch? And also, what is the hero end goal? So what would be the final, I don't know, result? What do I want to be? Full ascended? Then it's possible, but it's not that great. I don't know. Would be interesting. I mean, could be doable. Don't get me wrong. I think it's doable. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's true. There are differences what people would say, how to easily get your gear, how to progress, how to do stuff fast. That's true. But I feel like the latest expansions didn't really change too much when it comes to what you can actually get, how to do it. Since Soto, you get a very easy access to your ascended gear if you just wait 6 months at maximum, 3 months if you're smart. I don't know. There are so many things that you could prioritize as a new player to go for and get after a while, but I would say I'm still not completely sure if I would add too much new as a content creator for just doing things that other content creators very recently actually did as well. So, just saying, yeah. Yeah, if you play Dragon Hunter or Willbender in ranked, then you will see that it's working perfectly fine. But in ATs, I would not recommend it. Actually, Dragon Hunter is not that good there. I love your videos, especially build guides, but one thing that I think is lacking is a clear explanation of some basic rotation when to use it. It's often overwhelming when learning new builds, so if you provide some basic rotations for specific scenarios, it would be super helpful. But other than that, nice content. Very cool. So, good feedback, thanks for that. So, I try to... Oh no. So, for me, for PvE, I always include rotations. So I think you're talking about World versus World and PvP videos in general. So there, please, there I would say I try to include nowadays, talk a little bit more about combos and stuff. In my old videos, I agree, I talk too little about that. So that's true. But when it comes to the most recent PvP World versus World guides, I try to include all my rotations that you would do. Typically, I'm not a fan of talking of rotations in that sense. Just because I feel like talking about rotations in PvP and World versus World gives the wrong impression. Yeah, the impression of there is a rotation that you can follow. That's not true, you know. The rotation should always be adjusted to what you're fighting, what is currently happening. So it's more like a combo that you typically want to do. So that's what I really think is important. So I talk about combos in my videos nowadays. But I agree, I should play more. I don't know. Just saying. Yeah. Our thief just left. Very good. Thanks for the follow. Check and pull-ups. So, yeah, for PvP and World vs. World, I totally get the point that you should include some gameplay. I'm totally happy. I will do that. For me, it's really important that you have something to see how it is played. Totally fair. But what I also have to mention there is, oftentimes I showcase a build that I'm not as good as. So the problem is I can't give you footage that is... One second. Beef in the chat. So oh, the chat. So good. Is it possible to build open world elementals like Chrono? Have damage boons and a bit of tankiness with similar... So you would use a hammer for that. I have a hammer catalyst build guide on that. So, but it's sadly using celestial gear, so if you don't want celestial gear, I can maybe come up with a build that uses power build only, but I think celestial is superior for catalyst most of the time. Yeah, but what I was saying was that PvP and World vs. World build guides, I need to not only come up with a build or find someone that explains a build to me that I can showcase, that is a cool new build that I want to show, but it's also, and that's the important part, I have to understand and learn the build before I can make a video about it. Yeah, so that takes effort. And then I have to find enough gameplay where I showcase this build, and that takes even more effort, because especially PvP build guides, that's the sad part here, you have to understand that, PvP build guides nowadays feel like I have to play PvP for 10 hours to get one decent match where I showcase this build. Yeah, this is really horrible when it comes to creating new content on YouTube, because I don't want to put just 10 hours of producing for one build guide that then gets 10k views or something. If I could just explain the build and say, okay, maybe you should look at someone that really plays this build all the time on stream and say, so promote someone else that can actually play this build way better than I do. Yeah. So just saying that for me, it's really hard to make a perfect build guide in PvP and World vs. World for all the builds that I'm showcasing, because I'm just not as good. You can't expect one person to play every single build in the game perfectly. And that's what a build guide should be in the end. You should have some kind of video that showcases you playing the build perfectly, because only then you can actually see how a build is played. So just that you know, I try to make it as good as I can, but sometimes it's just very hard for me to find a perfect gameplay showcase, yeah, from my own gameplay, just because I'm not as good with the build yet. Just that you know my dilemma in that sense, yeah. For World vs. World, what's the best map to play, to practice for roaming and getting better? The best map to play? I mean, I don't like to play on... I personally, if you want to go roaming, I always go for the normal Alpine Borderlands. I don't like to go roaming on EB just because sometimes there's queues, sometimes there are Zergs playing and not really too many roamers. And in the Alpine Borderlands, you get a lot of roamers, typically. And Desert Borderlands is too big to really roam around a lot, I feel like. You said Willbender got quite nerfed a bit in roaming. I think Willbender is still fine. It's not as good as it once was. So there's that. It's still decent. But it's not as good as it once was. You have to be aware of that for sure. And Data is still very good as a roamer. So Data is a very good... I would say... Come on. Data is a good option. There are so many options for roaming, actually. So if you like to roam, I would say Willbender, Dragon Hunter, Virtuoso, Deadeye, Daredevil, they are all good. I would say I would rather go for probably a Deadeye instead of a Daredevil if you're really a Thief main. But that's just my take here. Other than that, I think Celestial Harbinger is really good. I think also Catalyst is really good for roaming. There's so many good options. I'm not sure if I would rate them in a tier list right now, where I would rate them rather. But there are so many options in my opinion. for roaming, so don't worry about it. Play what you like, you will do fine. Yeah, there are so many good options. I think Tierlist is very, very, very underrated as a roamer. I think it's very, very good. People are very surprised how well Tierlist deals with willbenders. So that's something for sure. Other than that, I don't know. Yeah. I think there are many options. I think roaming is one of the game modes where you can play a lot of builds. Some of them are really nasty, but most of them are playable. That's the cool thing. You will not succeed against everything, just because that's the nature of World vs. World. Some builds are just very annoying to fight as a specific build, but I think you will do fine. Play what you like, that's the most important thing. Yeah. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Also, if you're a new player, don't be shy. I'm always happy to answer. Okay, we got it. Very nice. But then again, most Guardian players exist only on a simple scale anyway. Either good, gods among men, or literally uninstalled here. Yeah, that's so true. I think that's... I will do a offensive support and also a defensive support tier list for PvE after the recent balance patch. I want to update it. And I struggle so much when I think about where I want to put Firebrand. Because Firebrands are for me, just like you said, either they are total garbage or they are extremely crazy good. Yeah, there is no in between, and that's so hard for me to rank, because if I would rank a class by how well it is played by someone that is really, really good and then rate it, then it would be completely different than if I would rate a Firebrand and the heal Firebrand and Fractus that does not know how to do the job. I would say it's the lowest tier, just because you don't get healing. The quickness uptime is shit. I don't know. I think it's so crazy. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I have to do a double rank and say, if you're good, S tier. If you're bad, F tier. Would actually be so funny, because people would be so confused if you're a new player. Because people would say, okay, what does that even mean? Because getting good, you have to start somewhere, yes? But I think it's you should not expect and play Firebrand and be a god tier player at the first time you play it. So yeah, it's really hard. Yeah. How hard would you say Boon DPS Chrono is to learn? Play it as a Boon heal at the moment and like the rotation of feel it. Is it that similar? No, it's not similar at all. I think that's the really important thing here to note. Boon heal Chronomancer is extremely easy to get into, hard to master, because you have so many different options that you could pick. But if you play a Boon DPS Chronomancer, you are way more fast-paced. It's way, I would say, it's completely different. It feels like a DPS build that also provides quickness or alacrity. So that's the, I would say. But if you're in Chronomancer, go for it, because it's really strong. It has a lot of utility. And the kit, it's very nice what it can provide to the party. So I would say it's a really good spec for that. But it's completely different than the heal variant. It's completely different. You use all the different trade lines. The only trade line that you use that is the same is actually Chronomancer. That's it. Yeah. So that's my take on that. 1 second. Yeah. See you later, Wolf. See you later. What? How did that hit me? My friend plays a sick core guardian for support, but he's starting to learn Firebrand. Yeah, I mean, you can clip that. I'm just saying that for me, if you want to learn, you know, at some point you want to learn it. But the problem is, a lot of people think, oh my god, Firebrand is broken, yeah? Because someone that is good showed it on stream, whatever, they showed the build, and it's really, really good. And then they play it, they think they are good at the game, play Firebrand, maybe play Heal Firebrand and say, this build is broken. I have a lot of quickness, I have stability, I have everything that we need. But if you can't use it at the right time, if you don't know that a lot of your skills are actually bound to cones, are bound to something in front of you, and that you have to dodge to heal and that kind of stuff, you know? If you don't know this about the build, you will suck at it and you don't even notice it until your group dies or flames you, because it's you think, oh, Firebrand is broken, yeah? So that's what I think is the issue here. A lot of people think this build plays itself, but it's not true. It's actually one of the builds that is the hardest to play if you want to play it perfectly. Just because of all the things that you have to keep track of. Just saying, yeah? It's not that hard, but it's definitely not a core guard, yeah, in that sense to play. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's so true. It's this cone in front of you makes people just miss half of their boons often, yeah, because they don't understand that the cone is actually needed to hit, yeah. I don't know. I think it's. I'm really happy to do a build guide about Firebrand and then make it 30 minutes long or something and explain every single detail about how to hit it, and then people quit after 5 minutes and think they can play the build. So that's why I'm really scared about doing this build guide, because I know people will not play it actually as I recommend them to play it. So will be a tough one. Yeah, will be a tough one. Yeah, I think if you, for example, that's the interesting part here as well. Firebrand is actually a decent support in PvP right now as well. But the thing is, it is very hard to play. And there people actually understand it. Typically, there people say, okay, PvP, I don't play Firebrand. Yeah, it's too hard for me. Or it doesn't work that well. But in PvE, you have the same thing. It's the same build almost as a support that you play. But the thing is, people say, oh my god, it's easy. I provide quickness, I give stability, I give healing. Yes, but all of that you only do, except maybe the stability. All of that you actually only do if you position yourself correctly and if you know when to press which button. Yeah, and that makes it actually hard. Because, for example, look at Heal Chronomancer. Heal Chronomancer, you just press all your buttons. It does not really matter in which order you press them. Typically, you have all the boons for your party. And the healing is also covered to the most extent. But if a Firebrand does it, that means maybe they have full boon uptime, but the party might not have any boon because you positioned yourself wrong. So that's the crazy part here, and that's what people is just not understand too much. That's why I would always recommend as a new player, if you like to play support, go for Heal Chronomancer. That's way easier to understand and also has a very nice skill ceiling to that extent, because you can swap around of a lot of different utility skills to make it work. Just my take here, yeah. And it's also very broken. That's true. It's very, very broken. Okay, second to last fractal. Have you decided on what kind of tier list you want to do with me? Should we do a strike mission tier list, or should we do some kind of fashion related tier list? I wanted to do a legendary tier list, rating the legendaries and the skins. What kind of tier list do you want to have me do today with you? So 2 options, strike missions or legendary. As always, my tier lists are always on chat. I want to have conversations with you. I want to get your opinions as well. They are both very spicy. That's why I wanted to do them on stream and get your interactions here, so that people might get, let's say, try to convince me that something is completely wrong or something is completely off. Because oftentimes I see that in the YouTube comments, and if I do it on stream, at least someone can interact with me and can give me, I can make my opinion clear, we can talk about it, and maybe we can find a compromise. But for me, that's why I wanted to do those quite spicy tier lists on stream. Yeah, they are both quite interesting, I would say. So what would you go for? You have still 1.5 fractals, so this fractal and then the snowblind, and then we will do the tier list after that. We can actually do that, Snowdrop Fox. That's actually a funny thing. If we would include the fractals 99 and 100 CM in there, it would actually be so funny. That's actually so true. I think the problem with the new fractals are that people that designed it actually don't understand what a fractal is supposed to be. I really hope that the next fractal is actually different than that. Because other than... So if they would really have a fractal again that has a big boss and that's it, I'm actually quite sad about it, I have to be honest. I think then the fractal days are a little bit over, to be honest. Which is quite sad. Because I think the fractals were some kind of replacement for dungeons. And they just did not really succeed with that with the newest fractals. I really hope they go back to that. I don't know. Okay, any other opinions? Do you want strike missions or passion? Legendary. Are we fine? Yes. You can see Firebrand has a nice boon, very good boon output. So this is decent working well. But if you don't have that, if you have a Firebrand that's just not doing its job, it feels horrible. Welcome, Pizza Hut, welcome. Hope you had a nice day so far. Just doing some fractals right now, and then we will do a tier list. No. He actually ate him. Not good. So, like I said, we have two options here for tier lists. Either I go for the strike mission tier lists. Oh, I'm so dead. The burning is killing me. Oh no. Strike mission tier list, where I not only rate the tier list in terms of how fun or how well designed the strike is, but I also want to rate it in terms of difficulty, how well the terms of difficulty is designed and that kind of stuff. So for new players, that they actually get the gist of how this works. But the other option would be a tier list of legendaries. So I'm looking at all the legendary weapons and I talk about how I like them, where I would place them. I won't go for the armor yet. It will only be the legendary weapons. Yeah. Okay, we have someone that wants to see the legendary weapon tier list. That's fine. We can do that, yeah. Of course, I have almost all of them, so I would also showcase them. So you can see them on my characters and stuff, how they are, the draw animation and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, don't worry. We will do them in the future. We will do them in the future. So I will do the strike mission tier list as well. Probably if we don't do it today, I will probably do it on Tuesday on my next stream. So we can just do it there. Yeah. There are so many hot takes when it comes to legendary. it will be interesting to see. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they, so Snowdrop Fox, I'm with you there. If they would ever do some kind of expansion that gives fractals some kind of rework, getting a next tier, so tier 5, would be amazing. Yeah, I have to be honest. If they would actually do that, it would be crazy. But I have to be honest, at this point, I see not that they will do that. I have to be honest. I don't see them doing that. I think that fractals are where they are now, and the developers say we will add 1 fractal per rotation, and that's about it. I think they will not continue making some feature updates. I really think so. I think they would just make it more difficult. I think they would just increase the difficulty, you know? That just like they did with, for example, the LCM in this newer strike missions, that you just have a higher difficulty mode. And you would, of course, get more rewards. That's what you would add in tier 5. I think if they would, they probably won't do that. I think, to be honest, the days of adding more features in Guild Wars 2 are over. I have to be honest. I think they will not add new features to the game. I think they will at some point announce a new game that they develop, and that's where all their development time is going into. I think Guild Wars 2 does not receive any big features anymore. I think they just add more of the same. So more fractals that are already here, more raids maybe, more conversion set and that kind of stuff. But other than that, I think they will not add big features anymore. I'm a little bit of a doomer here, I know. But I think that's just, it doesn't seem like they really want to do it, you know? I mean, they can, with the casual, they can actually increase the boss health bar, and that's about it. They can do that. But I hope they don't do just that. That would be really boring. I don't know. Yeah, only 4, so we have to skip all of that, please. Maybe I should not read chat while doing fractals. I'm dying too often. Give me a second. I think it would be important, like we just mentioned here in chat. I think it would actually be important that we get new mechanics as well. I think just adding more health to a boss makes it just boring, and people would not do it if the reward would not be too crazy good. Just because having more health is just making the fractal longer and not more fun. I think it should add more difficulty without increasing the length too much. So I think it would be ideal if you have a difficult fractal that takes the same amount of time as the normal mode, just make it more difficult, so more punishing. So if you fail something, you die. If you are doing well, you will be happy and you will actually kill everything in the same amount of time. That would be my ideal world, that the T5 fractal run would take the same amount of time, or just 10 minutes more or something, like the T4 fractal run, but it's way more challenging. That's the ideal world in my opinion. But I'm not sure, because oftentimes making fights harder also comes with just increasing the amount of damage that you need to do, because then you have some kind of time gates in there that you have to meet DPS requirements. I'm not sure. Maybe a one-shot mechanic, like the hard enrage mechanic? Maybe, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be cool if it would be never ending, that you could scale it way, like, let's say, you upscale it indefinitely. So that you could say, okay, tier 5 goes from 100 to 1000, and you can try as much as you want to go higher, and you will get more rewards for it. That would be cool. Maybe, I don't know. But of course, that would be very hard to implement, and I'm like I said, I'm not sure if they really have that much resources to actually do more features in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not even sure, Snowdrop Fox, how many people actually would like that. Because if you just look at the amount of people that play fractals, I would say 90% of them actually play tier 4 fractals and maybe recommended fractals. They don't play any CMs. So for whom would actually be those fractals for? So just my take here. I think the amount of people that actually would play it is probably way lower than we would like it to be. Yeah. Yeah, this is that's why I don't like this Silent Surf fractal, because it has just way too much HP. Yeah. So we're almost done. I guess people decided for the legendary tier list then. And we will do that. I mean, that's probably what they would think, yeah. So how much people would actually enjoy this rework or this new feature that we add? And if it's only, let's say, I don't know, I don't want to put any numbers here, but if it's just percentages of the whole amount of people that actually play Guild Wars 2, I'm not sure if they would actually invest that much time and effort into that. That's just my take. Yeah, see you later. See you later. So, I guess it's time now. Then again, we got Wing 8 and basically no one actually plays Raid in the grand scheme of things by their own admission. Yeah, that's true. I was also very surprised about that. I think everyone that actually raided was surprised. that's the funny thing here. A lot of people were surprised that we got a new Raid Wing because the amount of people that played Raids is way too low. But I think they made the decision that going for Raids is not too hard if you have all the boss design, all of the boss mechanics and stuff already set up, and you only can copy paste it and maybe tune it a little bit for 10-man content, because you already have the convergence, you have the world boss, you even have the story boss. So they really double, triple, quadra dip in this amount of reuse assets, which I think is smart, but people don't like it. Of course, there are some people that don't like it, but in my opinion, that's probably the decision why they said, okay, we will go for this. But if you would have to do a complete new fractal, or at least some new kind of new difficulty and that kind of stuff, even if it would be for more people, that might just not be what they actually are interested in. Just my opinion here, yeah. What I would say is could be happening, yeah. But we never know. I think ArenaNet is always some kind of a company that pulls any surprises, so you never know what is actually going on in the background. You never know. Okay, so let me put that stuff in the bank, and then we can actually do a tier list. I just want to have a fractal that looks like a fractal and not a recycle strike. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why Snodra, Fox and I actually think that the 99 and 100 CM is actually just a 5-person strike mission, which is obviously not something that fractal players want to have. But what can you do? You know, that's what they are designing, and I guess that's what we have to live with. I hope that's not the case for the future. Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to the effort we put in the legendaries, I totally agree with you there. I think that the effort of legendaries, Gen 2 legendaries, are way better when it comes to the effort. For sure. You put the effort in, you craft them, you really want to go for them, and then it looks better, for sure. Okay, so no, I will show it on screen. I will quickly set it up. Give me 1 minute. I have to change my setup. Give me 1 minute. So there we go. Let's see if that works as I want it to work. You should now see the tier list. I already said it previously. And I want to show the weapon in-game before, how it looks, what I think about it, and then I will rank it. So I have, let's say, a big amount of legendaries. I want to showcase all of them that I have and show it in-game. If I don't have it, I will use the preview window. I will rank my legendary weapons, how they are designed. I will not take into account how you can acquire them, and I will just rate them how they look, how I think they are fitting to Guild Wars 2, and how they, in my opinion. Of course, there are different opinions. Let me know your opinions, please. Really important here. And I will go quickly over the Oreen variants as well. I don't want to go too much into detail because there's 96 of them. I will just go very quickly over them. I will go more into detail about the very unique legendaries, okay? And just, I will start with, I don't know, with what do we start? Maybe we do it with the generation 1s first? I don't know. Yeah, let's start with the generation 1s and go by order, maybe. Yeah. So the first one we have here, Bifrost. So Bifrost is, I think, a weapon that is very classic. Yeah, I like the design of it. I think it feels really weird as a melee weapon. I think it feels way more as a caster weapon. I think Bifrost for me is a weapon that is really nice for Mesmer, for Elementalists, that kind of classes, maybe for a Guardian. But other than that, I think it feels like it's too, I don't know, it feels too like just a wooden stick and not too much as a melee weapon, I would say. For me, it's a very nice weapon. I would say it's not the highest. For me, it's a bit boring, maybe. Yeah, I agree on that. I would put Bifrost in A tier. I think for me, it's an A tier weapon. It's very nice. It looks good, but it's not the best. There are better weapons. Just my take. I know people really like it. I know people just don't like it as much. That's fine. For me, it's an A tier. Perfect fit. Yeah. Then I will go a little bit faster just that I don't waste too much time. Then we have Bolt. I think this is not only a weapon that is very polarizing from its design, but people either love it or people hate it. I think Bolt, in my opinion, is a bit overrated. I think the sparks are cool, but the weapon design itself is boring as hell. It's just the sparks, the lightning effects. It's just the effects, the visual effects that add to it. I think actually the weapon itself looks really not that great, and it also is not really fitting to a lot of classes, in my opinion, from the design. And I think it's very unique. I think it's for me because of how unique it is and how it actually, the effects and stuff are. Even if I don't like him too much on most classes, I actually think it is, for me, a B tier. I think Bolt is a B tier for me because it's very unique. I don't really hate it. I don't like it too much. I have it twice, just for the Twice Told Legend, back in the old day, but I don't really care too much. I think it's, for me, because of the effects, is B tier. I can see why people hate it and would put it in trash tier, maybe, but I think it still has great effects. Even if you don't like the effects, you could say the effects are really good. Just saying, yeah. Then we have the Dreamer. I actually don't have the Dreamer. That's the first one that I don't have. So we have to show it in the wardrobe. So, Dreamer. So the Dreamer is a weapon that is very, I would say, unicorn favored and that kind of stuff. So very fancy. But the most annoying part about the Dreamer is the sound. If you turn on the sound, those unicorn sounds may drive you crazy and all the people around you. So I would say this is some kind of silly weapon. But if you like it, I can see that. I don't like silly weapons in games. I want to have a real weapon. I want to have something that makes sense, that feels like it's a real weapon. So that's why I don't personally like the Dreamer. But for me, the Dreamer is higher than trash tier, actually. That's the important part. I think it still has some kind of weapon feeling, yeah. I would say for me, it's a low D tier weapon, yeah. I personally don't like it. It's a silly weapon. You could put it in trash tier, but you will see what kind of weapons I will put in there, and I think the Dreamer is actually better than that. I have to be honest. I think if you play it with sound on, it's trash. It's horrible. It makes you completely crazy, and I don't like it. Yeah, I would agree that if you can buy a legendary on TP, it diminishes a little bit of the prestige, but I think I don't want to rate it in there because a legendary itself can't change that. You know, it's just because of the generation that makes it sellable or not. So you can't really put that in there. Just saying, I agree. I think it's better to have a legendary that you put a lot of effort in and did yourself than having a legendary that you just swiped for. But that's just my take. Okay, next up, I think we have the first very, very good weapon. It's Eternity. Eternity for me is, I think, the most original weapon. It is very nice. It changes its color depending on the time of day. It has nice footsteps. It's a nice draw animation. It's very big. If you played it on an Asura, it's crazy how big it is. I think for me, easy S+ tier. It's easy S+ tier because I think it's just such an original weapon. It is crazy how well it is designed. If you look inside the greatsword, it's crazy nice. It's really cool. It's just perfect. I think it's perfect weapon for me. Maybe one of the best weapons in the game, probably. Yeah, from the design perspective, and definitely one of them. I don't know. I agree with you, Snowdropfox. There are not that many things in Guild Wars 2 that actually have any prestige, so that's true. But I'm just saying I like to have the feeling of going for a legendary that I did a journey to. We will get to that in a second when we get to the Generation 2 weapons, but I think those journeys make the weapons actually better. That's my take. I can see why people wouldn't put it S tier, but I personally really like it. I think it's such a good weapon. I really, really enjoy it. Just my take. Yeah, such a classic. Okay, then we have the shield. So for the shield, we actually have, how is it called? The legendary shield. The Flame Seeker Prophecies. For me, Flame Seeker Prophecies is a shield that is, the animation is really nice. I really like it. I think it's a very classic shield. It's very fitting as a shield. I think it has a perfect form and stuff. I think the book on it is, yeah, okay. But I think that's a shield. For me, that's a shield. You know, there will be shields on the tier list here that are not, for me, a shield. Very classic, very cool lore. I think it's fitting. For me, it's an S tier. It's an S tier weapon. I wouldn't put it as S plus tier because I think it's too little of in comparison to S plus tier, but I think it's really nice. Yeah. I personally like it. I think that's more like my favorite, you know. What would a shield look like that I really like? So I think I always take that into contrast. What a specific weapon, a perfect design of this weapon would look like. And I think a shield is something that can't be as flashy as a greatsword. So that's why I would rate it in comparison to a shield. So that's important for me. So you can see why I put it that high. Yeah. Also, the lore helps a lot to make it that high. That's true. The lore is really, really good. But then we have, is that Frenzy? I think that's Frenzy. I can't really showcase that on land either. I have it, but I can't really showcase it, so I will showcase it in the bank window again. I think that's Frenzy. Let me check. Yeah, that's Frenzy. So that's the underwater weapon. It's the harpoon gun. I think it is good. Not too crazy. I think it's, for me, it's for an underwater weapon. Yeah, it has some nice fishes around. It's underwater. I mean, what can I say? It's for me. I don't want to make a tier for it because there are only 2 in there nowadays. But I think it's decent. For me, it's just a, I don't know. It's a B tier weapon. I think it's not crazy good. It's not crazy bad. I don't know. You never see it. That's the sad part. That's just it. While we are at it, we can also just do the Krydkin as well because it's an underwater weapon. So there we go. That's also underwater. I think this one is actually better. I like this from the design. I think it's more fitting for an underwater weapon. It's not as flashy, but I think it's very fitting with those wiggly snakes and stuff. I think the flashiness is missing a bit, but the weapon itself I actually think is very fitting, very thematic for a trident. So personally, I would put it in A tier. That might be my first hot take, but I like that weapon. You never use it because you never play underwater combat, but I think I like it. I think it is very fitting. Yeah. What weapon? So I think let's continue with the Frostfang. So Frostfang is a very nice weapon. Frostfang. The Frostfang, I think, is one of the original best weapons because of the ice theme. I really like the ice theme. It's really cool. Sorry for the pun. And I think also the axe size is really good. It feels like an axe. For me, that's an S tier weapon. I think I really like Frostfang. I really think it's a very good weapon. It's not the best weapon. It's not S plus tier, but I think it feels fitting. I agree. You could make an argument that it looks like a mace, but a mace and the axe is always quite similar from the size, so it's always something like that. But I really like the general design, how it wields. Also the footsteps are cool. I don't know. I think it's a really nice weapon. Yeah. For me, it's S tier. Then we have Howler. Howler is interesting. Howler, I think the weapon itself looks okay. Not too crazy. Could be some kind of normal weapon, but when you have it drawn, it's actually quite nice. It also has some kind of sound effects. And wait, let me see. You can see the wolf and stuff. I think it's a nice weapon. I would say it's not as flashy. Also, the footsteps are very hard to see. It's more like a mist behind you. It fits nicely with Warrior, Ranger, maybe Tempest. I think it's nice. I think for me, it's an A-tier weapon. I wouldn't put it higher because I think it's too little of a legendary feeling to it. It feels more like it's some kind of gem store weapon at this point. But I like it. Yeah. For me, it's A-tier. Yeah. Then we have Incinerator. That's my first hot take. I don't like Incinerator too much. I think Incinerator is overrated. I think it's just a flame. I personally am not a big fan of Incinerator. I think Incinerator feels like some kind of experiment gone wrong. I don't really enjoy it too much. I think it's very fitting for elementalists, but other than that, I'm not a big fan. I have to be honest. For me, Incinerator is like Bolt. It's very flashy in this design, but the weapon itself doesn't look that great. That's just my take. I know. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I would put it in B tier. The effects are great. That's why it's in B tier. But I don't like it too much. That's my take. Yeah, that's my take. Okay, then we have Juggernaut. Juggernaut is the original hammer. And I think the design of the weapon itself is quite boring. Just if you look at the weapon, that would be an D tier weapon. I think the design is not that great. It doesn't look like a real hammer. It's too small, the head, I think. And the draw animation makes up for it. I think the draw animation is really cool. And the footsteps are also quite nice. But the weapon itself, I really don't like from a design perspective. I think that's the first C tier for me. I'm not a biggest fan from the weapon itself, and the effects are not that great. Maybe it's B tier, just because I like the effects, but they are too small to make it higher. And I think the weapon itself is better from a look than, for example, maybe C, maybe B. It's hard. I would say C tier because the effects are so bad. They are really nice looking, but you don't see them in a typical combat just because they are so small. So that's what I meant. They are nice looking, but too little. Yeah, that's why I put it there. Just my take. Okay, then we have the spear. I also have 2 spears just because I wanted to have 3 spears so that I can actually use them at all hands. This spear is actually nice. I think that's the best underwater weapon. If you hit something with it, it actually spawns sharks in underwater. It's really nice. It's fitting. It is actually fits Mesmer with the pinkish stuff. It's also fitting Guardian and that kind of stuff. I like it. I think it's a nice weapon. I think it has a crazy good effect. You can see the sharks as well when I throw it. I think the effects are really cool. The footsteps are interesting also with sharks. I think that's the best underwater weapon. For me, that's an 8. Maybe I think it's actually an S tier. Low S tier. I like this weapon. It's really good. Really well designed in my opinion. Just my take. I think it's really cool. I like it. Yeah. Then we have Kutsu. Kutsu I don't have yet. I actually don't have it yet, sadly. Kutsu is the only weapon that I don't have that I would say is actually quite nice. It is for me a little bit too happy worldy and a little bit too elven style. I'm more of a dark fantasy kind of guy, but it's decent. The effects are nice. I would say it's good. It's the ranger weapon that fits perfectly to this class. All other classes feel a little bit weird with it, but I think it's very good. For me, it's an A tier. I think it's an A tier weapon. It fits. It's good. It's what a longbow looks like. It feels a little bit too positive in my opinion, but it's still a good weapon. Yeah. Then we have Meteorologicus. I can't equip it on this class, so we will go to it to another class. Let me do that later. Also the same with Minstrel. And then we have the Mood. The Mood, let's see, where is it? I don't have it. That's why it's not there. I don't have the mood because the mood is really like a choke weapon. I don't like it. I think this is, for me, a trash weapon. I don't like it. For me, it's the first trash weapon because I think that's too silly. This is even sillier for me from the design than the Dreamer. I don't like it. For me, that's the first trash tier weapon. I don't like it. That's why I don't have it. I can see why people would like it, but I don't. I don't really. I want to have some kind of really weapon when I hit people. I don't know. Just my take. Then we can also stick to, yeah, the roleplay in Lion's Arts with mood. Oh no, please don't. Not with me. Then we have Quip. I don't have this either. That's the same. Quip for me is exactly the same as the mood. I think it's too silly. It's not really good looking. It's horrible. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of those silly weapons. That's why it's trash tier for me as well. Just my opinion. I don't like it. I can see why people would put it different, higher, but I don't like it. It's just my take. Yeah. Okay, then we have more weapons that I actually have. We have the Predator. Where is it? There it is. Predator. I think it's a very basic weapon from a design perspective, but it fits in contrast to Bolt and Incinerator. I think it looks really nice from the just general how a rival should look like. I think it's cool. The effects are nice as well. You have some nice glow. I think for me, Predator just works perfect. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say it's an S+ tier weapon, but I think it's an S tier weapon. I think it's, for me, it looks very much as a rival. It's really nice. It's really nice. I really like it. I think it's just fitting for a rival. I don't know. It's perfect in my opinion. I don't use it too much, sadly, because there are not that many rival specs that I actually play, but it's definitely good. Then we have the Torch. How is it called? Rotgor. Rotgor is a very fitting torch. I think the design of the torch is not too crazy, but it's fun. It has the same effect as Incinerator, but typically you don't see it that much. The footsteps you also don't see that much. I think the footsteps are really lackluster because they are just very small, but that's because of an offhand. I liked Rotgor. I think Rotgor for me is an A weapon. It's an A-tier weapon. I think it's fitting for a torch. I think it's not too crazy. That's why I don't put it in S tier, but I think it's fitting. I like it. Yeah, I think, yeah. It's a little bit too much with the head and stuff, but I think it's fitting for a torch. I don't know. Don't have much more to say about it. Okay, then we have the two greatswords. Two greatswords actually are Twilight. I think Twilight is very fitting for a dark edgelord kind of theme. I think the two greatswords are very similar. They are, so to say, siblings. I really like the dark one. I also really like the light one. I think it's also very fitting. Both of them can be really fitting. This one to Guardian, the other one maybe to a Warrior. Really, really nice. I think, though, Eternity is one tier higher, just because what it can bring. So I think Twilight and Sunrise, for me, S tier weapons, just because they are really good, but they have to be a tier lower than Eternity, just because of Eternity being a little bit more, I don't know, more over the top than them. Yeah, I agree. Sunrise on a Guardian is top roleplay, and on Necro Twilight is just very fitting. I agree. This is the typical what you would do. Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's now talk about Generation 2. I will go back to Scepter and Focus when I'm swapped to the different class, okay? So now we have Astrolaria. Astrolaria is, I think, the probably best X in the game. I really like this skin. It's such a good skin. I'm not sure if it fits perfectly on an X, but it's a really, really good web. I think this is the best X for sure. It has a perfect fit from how it looks. That's how an X should look. And the animation and stuff is crazy good. I really like it. For me, that's an S+ tier. Of course, you have to take into account it's one of the 4 weapons that actually have a journey. So that makes it even better. Just perfect. Yeah, it's just perfect. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's true. It's not fitting on every single character because of what it fits to, but it's still a very nice weapon, in my opinion. That doesn't make it less nice, in my opinion. Then we have Chukan Champawat. I can also not equip it here. I will show it on a different character. Then we have Eureka. Eureka is, I would say, a very nice mace. Perfect. I actually like the Eureka mace. I think how the weapon actually looks, so the general shape of it is really nice. I think the effects are also quite good, in my opinion. For me, this is actually one of the best maces out there. I really like the bot to the ground approach. It's very fitting, in my opinion. It looks like a weapon. It looks like a mace. Has some nice, it's very fitting, for example, for Condi Ref or something like that. I really like it. For me, that's an S tier, to be honest. I really like Eureka. I see why people don't like it, but I personally actually think it's really good. I actually don't read too much of the lore, so maybe you're right there. I don't know, but I really liked it. I think it's really good. I like it. Yeah. Okay, then next up, another great sword. We have Exordium. Exordium is, thanks for the follow, Constant. Thanks, and Poplats. Yeah. So there it is. Exordium for me is, from the shape, a perfect greatsword. It looks a little bit like plastic, but I personally like really the amount of effects it has. It's really good on a Guardian. It looks really cool. I think it's one of the coolest greatsword out there. It has amazing effects for all the skills. The draw effects is also crazy. I would really S+ tier. I think it's also S+ tier. I think it's one of the only legendaries with that greatsword. Actually, greatsword has the most S+ tier legendaries. I have to put it like that. It's really good. It's very long. It's like a really long sword. I really like it. I think that's fitting for this. It doesn't fit every class, but I think I like it. Yeah. I don't know. That's just my take. What's then? Flames of War. I don't have this weapon. Is it called like that? Yeah, it's called like that. Flames of War. This weapon is horrible. It is probably the worst legendary in the game. It's just ugly as fuck. They memed their own memes. It's so crazy. It's so bad. It's crazy. It's trash tier on the lowest thing. That's would be the last legendary I will ever make, just to complete my collection. I will never equip it on anything. It's just horrible. I don't want to look at it any longer. It's just bad. Then we have HMS Divinity. This weapon I don't have either. If you compare that to the Predator, it's just a joke. This is a meme weapon. For me, I can see why someone would like that for RP reasons, but personally, I think for a legendary, it's just a silly concept. That's why I would put it in D tier, just like the Dreamer. I think it's better than trash tier weapons just because it has some kind of effort that is put into it, but I don't like it as a weapon. That's why it's in D tier. Yeah. That's just my take here. Then, the biggest surprise, I actually don't have Ippos. I don't have the Binding of Ippos. I will get it at some point because I like it, but I think it's very, very dark edgelordy. I think it's a very nice focus. I think it's very cool. It's over the top for sure, but the weapon itself looks really cool. It's just a book, and if you equip it, you get the big hand. I really like it. I just don't have it at this point because I have already 2 foci, and I don't want to waste my money on that for now. That's the next legendary I would go for sure. But for me, I would say, yeah, maybe S+, low S+ tier. I think the other in S+ tier are a little bit better because I like the weapon a little bit more from a base design. But the weapon itself looks really cool. Yeah, it's just my take on that. What do we have then here? Is that the claw? I think that's the claw. The claw of the Khan-Ur. I don't have that. This is, for me, one of the most boring designed legendaries from just a weapon design. It looks really weird. It's so boring. And the draw animation is also not that crazy. in my opinion. And for me, that's not a big fan. I think it's a C tier weapon for me. I think it reminded me, it looks like a batlet from a Klingon. It's really, really weird. Yeah, I think for me it's a C tier weapon. It's really boring. I don't like it too much. Yeah. Then we have Nevermore. So Nevermore is interesting. I think Nevermore looks really good on certain classes. I think it is a little bit over the top for some classes. For me, Nevermore is a really nice weapon. It has a nice animation. It fits really well. It is very cool, the journey. So just because of that, I would say I put it in S tier, S plus tier, because it's so good from the stuff that it actually does with the Raven and stuff. It's really good, the journey. For me, it's really, really good. I don't like it too much, for example, on a Thief, because it feels really weird to hit something with the stick, and I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that. But I think it's really cool on caster classes and stuff. I really like it. I don't know. And on a Druid, I would say it's also nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's just my take. Then we have Pharos. So Pharos is interesting. If you want to go cheap, and you can just get Pharos by buying the Chaos Longbow, and you will have the same effect. The weapon itself looks like a bow. It's very clean. That's why I like it. I think Pharos fits so well on a Guardian, and it feels for me like a perfect legendary if we wouldn't have all the other crazy over-the-top legendaries and stuff and skins in the game. It's so down to the ground. I really like it. I think the model, I'm a person that really likes some clean design. That's why I like this so much. For me personally, that is a perfect legendary. I really, really like this. Sadly, it does not fit in a lot of classes too well. For example, if you put that on a, I don't know. Yeah, there are not that many longbow users. DH fits really well. It's the DH weapon. Yeah, that's correct. Like Kutsu is for Ranger, this is for DH. I really like it. I would put it in S tier. I wouldn't put it in S plus tier just because it's a little bit boring. It's not too unique, you know. That would be for me a weapon. If I could dye it, that would be S plus tier. If I could dye this weapon, it would be insane. Yeah, because then you could make it fit for every single class. But just this white is a little bit too, yeah, changing it to only be Guardian and stuff. But I think you could make an argument for putting in the S plus tier. Just my take. It's just, I like it. I like very clean things. Yeah, so let's take a look at what's the next one. Sharua, I don't have this one. This one is horrible. This one is so bad. It has a night and a day scheme, but I think this is really bad. It is really, really bad. I think this is easy D tier for me, just because it's very bad. And if you get the thing coming out, I think it's just bad. Maybe it's even trash tier, just because it's not even a silly weapon and they made it such ugly that you can't really use it. I think it's low def. I don't like it. There is a night and day effect, I agree, but they are both actually ugly. So that's the sad part here. I don't like them. I don't like them. I think that's why I would put it in trash tier. I know people might disagree with me here. That's just my take on it. Yeah. So what do we have as well? Shushadu. I don't think I have that. Yeah, I don't have the Shushadu one. I'm not a big fan of Shushadu. I think this is like a silly weapon. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it looks funny, but it's not that crazy. I think it's, for me, in RP tier, that's good. I think that's nice. I would put it in D tier. I think it's like HMS Divinity. It has some kind of nice effort put into it, but I personally would never use it as a weapon. I think you would never use that, in my opinion. I don't know. Just my take. So what else do we have here? I can't use those. I can use Shining Blade. Where's Shining Blade? There it is. I think Shining Blade is a very nice legendary from the just how the blade looks, it's really nice. For me, the draw and how it glows and stuff is really amazing. I think for me, S+ tier, but I have to say I don't like the footsteps. I think the footsteps, if they would be cooler, that would actually be even better. I think the animation and stuff is really cool. I think just the effect of it is really good. I would say for me S+ tier, even though I have to say the footsteps not that good. But not everything has to be perfect, I guess. So yeah, purple gold Mesmer the classic, that's true. And then we have, how is it called, Verderek or something? I almost did not remember it. Verderek. It's a warhorn. Verderek. Yeah, this one. Yeah. So this one is really weird. It's just a horn, and if you wield it, it gets even bigger. It gets a really big horn. I think this is interesting. I think this is a very interesting weapon, and by design, I like the design of it. But personally, I would say I would not use it on many characters if I had it. That's why I don't have it, because it's not that crazy. I think for me, I would say an A tier weapon. It's decent. I think it's an A tier for me. I think it fits what it's a warhorn is, but it's not. I would not go for it and say, holy shit, finally I have it and I use it on every single character that I can use it on. I'm not sure. It's just, it doesn't fit to a lot of fashions that I would put it on. I don't know. I think that's why I don't have it. It's too specific most of the time. Yeah. And then we have, lastly, that I can equip here, I have Hope. Hope, where is it? There it is. So, wait, I have to unequip this one. Hope is, from a weapon design perspective, perfectly a pistol, and it has really nice animations. For me, Hope is... I'm not a big pistol fan in Guild Wars 2, but I think this is a perfect pistol. I would not have any weapon that design that fits better for a pistol than this one. It's a perfect pistol. I don't know. S+ tier. And you can see where I'm going here. Nevermore, Astrolaria, Hope, S+ tier. Do you see the pattern? It's crazy. It fits perfect. It's really good. It's really, really good. It's perfect for Mechanist. It's just crazy. Yeah, just really good. So I will now go quickly over the Oreen variants before I swap to another character that can use the rest of the weapons. Just because the Oreen variants are, so to say, I don't know, they are just a recolor of the other ones. So I will quickly go over them. This is the mace. I think the mace is actually one of the better ones from the Oreen variants. I think the Oreen variants, in my opinion, it feels like an organic weapon, that's true, it feels not perfect, but I think the Oreen mace is one of the best ones from them. It feels like a mace, at least, from the size and stuff and the shape. I think it's a little bit over the top with the design, so I'm not the biggest fan of those baseline Oreen skins, I have to admit. So I would put this one in let's see, where would I put it? Probably in B tier. No, I would put it in A tier, low A tier. No, B tier, B tier. It's B tier. It's too flashy. It doesn't fit too much. I don't like it too much. Let's stick with the other Oreen skins as well. So how are they called? Tail, it's called. So the tail. So the Saitan one is, for me, it has nice footsteps, but the effects themselves are, I don't know. It fits like on a really crazy berserker feeling, like you feel it's a kind of absolutely crazy, flashy demon thing. It feels like, I think it's a very good design. I think the Mortimerf and the Saitan variants probably are the best designed ones, just because they are really cool from the design. They are really fitting. I don't think you can use them in a lot of characters, but I really like it. So for me, that's an A tier. I really actually enjoy the Saitan one. Where is it? Um, I think it's this one. For me, it's in A tier. Yeah. So let's quickly go over the other ones as well. So this one, the calculatoric one, I don't think fits too well. I think it's a little bit too flashy, and for me, I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I think it's also B tier. Yeah. For me, yeah. I think it's like the baseline skin. Yeah. I think that it feels like, why is it only having 2 of and not 4 of those? I don't know. It feels a little bit weird. The Primordus one is I personally, that might be my first hot take, and again, sorry for the pun. I am not the biggest fan of the Primordus legendaries. I think they just have those fiery effect, and that's it. That's just for people that want to be a fire wizard and that kind of stuff. I think that feels not perfectly fitting all the time. I think they are really cool for people that like to have those fiery themes, but if you don't, it's just too much. It's over the top, in my opinion. You know, the trail effect is just some red trail. It doesn't feel like fire at all, in my opinion. And the footsteps are good, but typically you just burn your eyes with it. I'm not the biggest fan of it. You know, I think the Prime Orders Generation 3 weapons are actually, in my opinion, a little bit overrated. Yeah. I think it's too much fire, or too much reddish. It's too over the top, in my opinion. For me, that's why I would put it in C tier. Yeah. In high C tier for me. Yeah. Oh, they're so hard to see which one is the one. Yeah, I think that's the one. And then we have the So one. So the So one, it's also too much. It doesn't feel like water too much. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It feels like Primordus one, just in blue. I think it's okay, but it's also a little bit too much. I think it's not my favorite one. I would also put it in C tier, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to fit, actually. Those are really hard to judge sometimes. It's also, they have different shapes in the image, so it's also hard to fit. So we have left the Mortimer's one. So the Mortimer's one, I really like. I think the Mortimer's one is really cool. I think the mace is actually not the best example, but I really like the Mortimer's weapons. I think those are probably the best of the Generation 3 skins overall, the variants. I really like it. It's very good. It's very, very good. Yeah. But the mace is not the best one. I have to be honest. The mace is not the best. Oh, that's so hard. Is this the mace? I think this is the mace. For me, the mace, this is A tier. Yeah. It's good. It's good. I like it. And then we have last the Chomek one. So the Chomek one, I like the Chomek one. I think the Chomek legendaries are actually the best looking ones from the crazy particle effects. They are still over the top, but it's at least fitting as an ice scheme topic. I think it's fine. The mace actually is one of the better ones from the Chomek ones, because I think it's very fitting. It's a bit over the top, but I think it's, from the effects, it's better than the Primordus one and the Savon one. I think it's more icy, and it's also over the top, but that's why I would not put it in A tier, but B tier. Yeah. For me, at least. And I personally think it's better than the Savon one, for sure. Okay. Now we want quickly go over the other skins as well, because there are so many of them. So let's do it a little bit quicker. So how is it called? The next one, the sword one. Fang. So let's go for the Fangs. So the Aurene Fang, for me, is probably one of the best legendaries of the Aurene variant. I know it looks like a small toothpick. I know that. But personally, I think it is very cool that you can skin those in different colors, you know? So I personally like the Chomax Fang. I think this is really cool. I like the Krakatorix Fang for Mesmer. And I like the Primordus, the Mortimer one. I think this is also really fitting. I think the Primordus one is actually one of the best Primordus ones. It's still too much with the fire, but it's at least a little bit fitting on the weapon. I don't know. I think the Fang is one of the best Generation 3 weapons. Yeah, that's just my take. I know people still think it's too short. If it would be a bit longer or something, a bit thicker, that would be more like a sword, but I personally actually like it. Yeah. I think all of those are decent. Yeah, decent. Yeah, that's my opinion on them. So, it's, which one is it? This one is for me A tier, and then the watery one is B tier, and Krakatoric one is probably A tier. The Primordus one is also B tier. The Modulmuff one is A tier for sure. It's the best. It's so weird. Sometimes they just change direction, and I don't know which one it is. And lastly, we have the Shawmagans. Oh, it's actually crazy. They are so hard to differentiate. Let me check. This one. Yeah, Chomag is also quite decent. I actually like those fangs. I think the fangs are actually decent. I like the fangs. I know people might hate me for that, but I like the fangs. Okay, what do we have next? Hammer. Oh, the hammer. That's. I know this is. Ooh, it looks like a Great Axe. I think. I think the hammer is weird. The hammer is really weird. I don't know. What do you think about the hammer? I personally think the hammer is a little bit over the top. It's too I don't know, too big of a head and too weird of the handle. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of the hammer, to be honest. I think it's decent. It's decent, but it's not crazy good. It's yeah, I can't see all of it yet because I have to put it together. I don't know. I think the hammer is okay. I think all of the hammer variants are okay, but to me it's a little bit too big. It's too big of the watery one. I don't like. I don't like the watery one. I still stick with it. I think all the Aurene. They are positioned in the same. Okay, that's good. Good to know then. Yeah, that's good. Then I can always start with the pistol. Very good. Good point there. I don't like the hammer. Too much. I think the hammer is okay, but I don't like it too much. I'm not the biggest hammer fan. And especially the Sowon hammer. I think all the Sowon variants actually I would put in. I actually have to be honest. That's what I want to do now. I think the Sowon variants I don't like. I think the Sowon variants are not good. There is probably not a single Sowon variant that I would put higher than C tier. I think except maybe the staff. All the other ones I don't like. So let's do that. So just check where is the staff actually. Which one is the staff? This one is. This is the staff. The staff I actually like. Let's quickly go there before I forget. The staff I actually like. I think the staff is the only one where it fits a little bit. Yeah, where I would say this is decent. Yeah, it's decently fitting. Yeah, I think there you can say as an elementalist, as a guardian, it is somewhat decent. I think that's the only time where I would say this watery weapon style fits a little bit more. So that's why I would put only the staff in B tier. Yeah. All the other ones I would put in C tier, and I don't like it. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. Okay, let's stick to the hammer. I think the hammers are okay. They are not crazy good. I think they are, for me, B tier. I'm not the biggest hammer enjoyer when it comes to that, but for me they are B tier. They are quite similar. B. Yeah, B. I don't like the Primordus one, so that's why it's in C tier. I think it's too much over the top. And then the Saitan one is also B. Okay, now let's do it like Snowdrop mentioned. I will always go with the first one, which is always the pistol in that sense. So let's check it out. How is it called? Pistol. How is it called? The pistol. Argument. So the argument, the pistol. I don't know. I think it looks a little bit weird. Why does it have this hole in it? I think that's too much. I don't know. For me, it reminds me of some kind of fish that I'm holding. I don't know why, but it looks like a fish. I'm not a biggest fan of it. I have to be honest. I think the shape is too weird. It's too small. It's not a pistol for me. I think it's not that good. I think the best one is probably, yeah, Hopes Exists. I don't know. I think they are not that crazy good. I have to say. I think they are all not really. I would not equip them, to be honest. I don't know. For me, all of them are C tier. I don't see it too highly, to be honest. No, I don't have anything against fish. Don't let me. Let's clarify that. But I'm just saying, I think it's not like, I wouldn't imagine a pistol like that. So I don't want to have a pistol that looks like that. I think they want to have a magical pistol, but I think that's not fitting. I think a pistol is something kind of a mechanical device. You would not have some kind of magic built into it. So I'm not a biggest fan of it. I think the design is just not me. I'm not against any fish, don't get me wrong there. That's why I put actually Krydkin so high, because there are fish in there, because I think that's really fitting for some kind of fish legendary. Okay, what do we have next? How is it called? I don't even know what it is. Which one is it? That's a greatsword, is it not? I think it's the greatsword. Yeah, there we go. It's the greatsword. The greatsword. I think this is the worst greatsword legendary that we have. That much is for sure. I think it's okay when it comes to how it's looking from the shape and stuff. I think it's okay. No, I'm not a fish hater. Please don't say that. That's not true. That's not true. Just saying that I don't want to have a fish as a pistol. I think that's not fitting. This weapon, I think, is okay. I don't like the variants, to be honest. I think the variants are too much. They are over the top. I don't really like the greatsword too much. I have to be honest. I think the shape is weird. I think the variants are too much over the top. A lot of people run around with the Primordus one. I think that's just over the top. I think it's not fitting too much. It's too, I don't know. It feels like it's some kind of lance, some kind of the knight back in the Middle Ages, and you want to run around on a horse and have a lance on it. That's how it looks, to be honest. I don't like it. It's not a greatsword to me. I don't know. Yeah. Exactly that. It looks like a lance. I don't know. It's not just me then. So for me, C tier. I don't like it too much. All of them, actually. Okay, what is this one? Eternity is here. Sorry. I will show the whole tier list when I'm done. I just have to scroll a bit, because if I make it even smaller, I can't even see it anymore. That's the sad part. So, what do we have next? I think that's the torch. How is the torch called? Breath. So there we go. So the breath, I think, is also way too big for a torch. I think this is just too big. That's the general theme of all those legendaries. I think they are so big, except when they are too small, like the Fang. The Fang is the only small one, but the other ones are way too big. Look at that. That's like a meter big torch or something. If you look at the character, you know, it's like almost half of their body. It's like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's too much to me. I think they are. I don't know. I don't know. It's just my take. I don't like the torches. I think the torches are, I don't know, not that fitting. I think I don't like them. The effects are good, but the size is too much. I think that they have this ball there. That's nice. I like it. That feels like a really torchy style. But I think it's again C tier for me. I think the size brings it down to C tier. If it would just be smaller, I would actually put it in B tier. But it's too big for me. Yeah, it's too big. This makes it like, why would you equip something like that? It's completely covering your whole screen. Okay, then we have the dagger. How is the dagger one called? Let me check. I always forget how they are called. Claw. Okay. So the claw one, I actually like the dagger. I think the dagger is one of the only legendaries where I would say the shape is actually decent. Again, it's too big for a dagger. This feels more like a sword to me, you know? But I think the dagger shape is nice. The dagger shape is nice. I think the variants are okay, but I think the daggers are good. I like the daggers. I think the daggers are one of the better ones, for sure. I would say the daggers, even the fiery one, is for me, is A tier. I think it's A tier. I think all those are A tier. They are the first ones where I would say I would actually use all of them on the specific characters, to be honest. I think they have some kind of feel to it that it makes sense to use them. Yeah, for me they are A tier. Yeah. Okay, then what is this, the short bow or the long bow? Let's check. This is the short bow. Then we have to use the long bow. So the longbow is called Flight. So this one, I think, is actually very decent. I like the longbow. I think the longbow is nice. I like the longbow. I think it's one of the ones where I would say the size is actually fitting. I think a longbow has to be big. Yeah. I like all of them, actually. I think, especially the Mortimer one. I think the Mortimer one is probably the best. I think this one is actually probably for me an S tier. I actually like the Mortimer one. I would put it in S tier. The fire one, I think the fire effects are just over the top. I'm not the biggest fan of the Promoters one. I said that before. Mortimer's is S tier. Water one is, I don't like. Mortimer, this one is A tier. I don't like it. The other ones I would say A tier. Yeah. I like the Mortimer one because the Mortimer one feels like an Kutsu that I could use on every single class because it feels like more serious. Yeah, I like it. I think for me, all of them A tier, with the exception of Mortimer being S tier because it's really, really good. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, that's just where I would put it personally. Yeah. Okay, what do we have next? What is this? I really did. How they look is so hard to differentiate. Which one is this? Ah, that's the focus. Okay, that's the focus. How is it called? Gaze. So the focus is also, again, it's so big. It covers the whole arm. What is this? It's way too big. And it doesn't really look like a focus. It looks more like a half of a shield or something. I like it from the design, but it looks like a small shield, exactly. I think from a design perspective, it's a different focus. I think how would a focus normally look? I don't know. That's why I think it's actually
good. I like it. It's just too big, I think. It feels like you use it as a magical thing, but it feels like a shield. I'm not sure. It feels a little bit weird. Primaris and so on, I would put lower than the others, but the others are actually decent. I would put them in A tier. Yeah, A tier, and the other ones in B tier. The Primaris one and so one. Yeah. Where is it? I don't know which one it is, so it's fine. It's C tier. Yeah, I think this one looks actually really cool. That would be something like double unarmed weapon or something. Like you just hit you with your bare hands and your fists. That looks like a really cool weapon for that. I don't know. Looks really cool. You could make some disgusting looking, I don't know, double focus wielding warrior or something. It's really interesting. Or necromancer even. That's really cool. I agree. Yeah. What do we have next? Is that the staff? I think that's the staff. How is the staff called? Wisdom. No, insight. There we go. The staff one I actually like. Glad you like it, Agent Scorpio. Glad you like it. So the staff I actually like. I think the staff is decent. It looks like a staff. I think it feels like a staff. I think the variants are fitting. Yeah, I think it's overall a very good weapon. I think the staff is for me A tier. I think the staffs are nice. Overall, very good. I think the staff is probably the best looking in the base variant. I think the best looking base variant is probably the staff. I have to be honest. It feels like it looks like a very worthwhile thing. Yeah. So I would put them all in A tier for now. There we go. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's actually true. The staff looks a little bit worse than the Bifrost. It's true. But I would say it's still for me an A tier. I think if you don't like the Bifrost because it's such a, it feels very thin and it could break. But the Oreen one looks a little bit thicker and a little bit more like, okay, you can actually use it as a weapon as well. So I think for me, it's okay. I think A tier makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Always those jokes. I know. I'm just ignoring them for now. Okay. Then what do we have next? It's the pistol. No, it's not the pistol. It's the rival this time. How is it? Persuasion. I think this one is actually nice. I like this. I think it's looks like a decent rival. It's I don't know. It's fitting. I like the rivals actually. In contrast to the pistols, it feels like they are decently from the size in this thing. But I think it's still over the top with the effects and stuff. So look at those weapons. They have way too much of those effects going on. I think the rival is nice. It feels like magical rival, which I'm still not the biggest fan of, but I think it's very well done in contrast to the pistol. So I would put it in A tier because of that. Yeah. I put a lot of them in A tier, I noticed, but that's just how I feel like, for me, it's A tier. I don't know. Feels like A tier. Oreen is from Texas. I don't know. Maybe. Would make sense why that's persuasion then. Yeah, exactly. Okay, next is the X, I think. No, not here. How is it called? How is it called? Rending. Okay, rending. So I don't like the X's. I think the X's look really weird. I don't like it. I think those they look really weird. I think they are too small. They just have this weird blade here. Other than that, it looks really weird. I'm not a biggest fan of it actually. I think they are too small of a thing. I think they are okay, but they are not great. Yeah. I would put them in I think I would put them in B tier. I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think they are too... I would rather use Frostfang or Astralaria. I think I never have a big reason to use them. I think they are not too interesting. I don't know. I don't like them. I think the model is not too great. I'm not the biggest fan. I can see why you put it higher or lower. I think there are arguments for both. I just personally don't like them too much, just from a design. Okay, then we have the scale, which is the shield. The shield, where is it? Is for me the opposite. I think the shield is too over the top. I think the design of it is too over the top. I think it's this weird thing that comes out of it. I don't like it. Looks like a doorknob. I'm not a... I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like them. I don't like the shield too much. I think the shield is... I'm sure. I don't know. I think they are too crazy. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't like the shield. I don't like the shield. For me, the shield is C tier. I think it's too weird of a shape. I don't like it. Yeah, you could make an argument for putting it in B tier because it's a nice size. It's really a big shield that you can hide behind. But I think it's too much of stuff going on that is on top of the shield. It feels like it's unnecessary. I don't know. It's just my take. Okay, then we have the Warhorn. We're almost through with the Legendary Orion ones. That's good. How is this one called? Voice. Okay. So the voice is, again, very big. It feels like very magical. Is it good? Is it good? That's the question. It's medium. I think it's not horrible, but it's also not that good. It's the baseline design, it's just a Warhorn. Nothing too crazy. I don't know. I think it's okay. It's okay. For me, it's B tier. It's okay. It's not too special, you know? It's better than a lot of other things, but it's not that good either. So for me, it's B tier, low B tier. I could make an argument for putting it in C tier. For example, the watery one. I don't like the watery one. That's why it's in C tier. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know. I think they are just too much over the top. A lot of them are over the top, but this is definitely the skins. I don't know. The Gen 3s, I just went for them because all of them actually a nice collection. Most of them I actually don't like too much. Yeah. So how is this one called? Wing. Okay. I like the bows. I think the bows are good. I think the Orion bows are probably overall the best ones because they fit. They are like a bow. They look good. I think for me they are A tier. I think they, except the water one. The water one doesn't fit anyone. But this one is. I think I like him. I think the A tier fits them very well. So that's where I put them. And then last but not least, we have the Scepter variant, I think. Yeah, I think it's Scepter. How is it called? Always forget how they are all called. Scepter. Wisdom. This is the Wisdom. Okay. So the Wisdom. I don't know. What do you think about it? I think it's too... It's very flashy. It feels like some kind of just a stick and then a big effect on top of it. I am not sure if I would put it very highly. I think it's not that good. It's too big for a scepter. Again, it feels like the torch. If you wield that scepter torch with Orion variants, feels like you hide behind your weapons. It's crazy. It's I don't like it. Looks like a branch. Yes, exactly. I'm not the biggest fan. I think those are for me C tier again. I'm not. It's too much. As most of the generation 3s, they are just too much. Okay, and then lastly we go to a character where I can use the magical weapons. Actually, Thief would be okay. Give me a second. The Chancellor Wild Spear is not there yet. I will actually put it there. Give me a second. Give me a second. So there we go. I'm back. And this time I'm on the Thief. Give me a second and I can actually showcase the Orion weapons here as well. Because Thief actually has access to Scepter and Shotbow. Shotbow, in my opinion, Chuka and Champabot. For me, perfect legendary. The journey is amazing. The draw effects are really cool. The weapon itself is really cool. It's perfectly fitting. It's not over the top with effects. It has effects. It's perfect legendary. I think it's so good. I think it's really good. I think those 4 legendaries are, for me, S+ tier. Just having this journey, having something that looks very good at the end of the journey, and some kind of thing that you want to equip because it feels like a really good weapon. I think these are the best weapons they ever designed for legendaries overall, because the package is perfect, you know? Just saying, you know? I don't know, it's niche, I agree, but it's very fitting. It's a weapon design that it's very fitting, you know? Okay, so what else do we have here? We have the Scepter. Where is it? Chiquatl. So this one is interesting. So I think I like this one. You have this floating thing with you. And the weapon itself is okay. I think it's not too crazy. I mean, it's fitting the thing for the Aztec style. I think that's really nice. I think it is one of the best legendaries if you like this floating thing. And it has nice, decent footsteps that are not too crazy over the top. The draw effect is nice. And I think for me it's S+ tier because I like the floating thing. If you don't like the floating thing, I would say it's A tier. Because it's not too crazy then. But I like the thing. It's a big. I agree. That's again a criticism with the Scepter. So maybe it's just S tier because of that, because it's so big. It's actually not feeling like a Scepter anymore. But I would say S tier is probably the best. It's fair. Yeah, it's too good. It's too big for that. Yeah, for sure. And then we have Metrologicos. Give me a second. Where is it? There. I think Metrologicos is such a classic, but I personally think it's also, again, not feeling like a weapon. I think it's, again, feeling like some kind of model, some kind of weird thing. So it has nice footsteps, it has a nice design, but personally, I think it doesn't feel like a weapon, yeah? I think, for me, it's an A tier weapon. I think I like it, but I personally think it is very niche. You can't use that on a Thief. I think that fits really badly. On an Elementalist, it fits really well. But other than that, I think if you have something that is not really, I don't know. I think it's magical, but I'm personally not the biggest fan. For me, it's an A tier. Yeah. I don't know. It's just very classic, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's a nice weapon, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. And then we have the Minstrel. I don't need to go for different character here. I just show it here. I have it, but the Minstrel, again, a choke legendary of some kind, but you get the novelty with it. I think the novelty is actually decent if you like to play music. I think the Minstrel is like a choke legendary. I'm not too big of a fan as using it as a real weapon. I think it's a D tier for me. I think it's a roleplay weapon. It's not you can play a bard with it, for example, roleplay as a bard. But other than that, if you, for example, play Bifrost and this, it fits really well as for Mesmer, maybe something like that. It feels like a legendary to some extent, but it feels like for a class that doesn't exist. So I don't know. I'm not the best friend with this one. But I think it's definitely not trashed here. I think it's okay. Yeah. And last but not least, we actually got Clo-Bjorn, which is the new spear. I will not showcase every single skin of it because I think they are very similar, to be honest. I think they don't look too different. you can make an argument that some of them fit better, for example, for something magical and stuff. But I personally think they are very similar. They are not that crazy. This looks more like a polearm or something, but all the others are very, I think that they made 6 variants is nice, but they could have been a little bit more different. I think they are way too close to each other. I would say, for me, they are very nice. I personally am a big fan of having weapons that are not too flashy, that they are down to the crowd. I think that we get it for free doesn't makes it better, of course, but I think it's S tier for me. I think the spear design itself is not that legendary to me. It could be a gem store skin as well. That you have effects with it is really nice. I think this floating thing at the back is a little bit annoying. I don't like it too much, but I like the footsteps. It's not too over the top with the effects. I like this ghostly kind of vibe, and I like the draw effects. I think that's fitting, but I don't like this floaty stuff behind me. I think that's I don't know. I think personally it's a good weapon. I think it's, for me, if they continue with legendaries like that, I'm happy. Yeah, I think for me S tier. It's not S plus tier, because if you look at the weapons in S plus tier, they are just better for me. I like them more. I have to be honest. I like them more. But let's take a look at it. 1 second. There we go. I can see why you would put it in S plus tier. I can see that. But I personally think it's too... I think the S plus tier weapons are just not 1 step above. Yeah. I don't know. I think the hardest decisions for me are Pharos and this Globion, because both of them I could make an argument to put in S plus tier, but they are a little bit too much to the ground to say, okay, this is, if it compares to Eternity or if it compares to Astrolaria, they are not that good. But this is a personal tier list. That's really important to say. This is my taste. So I can be completely off here when it comes to your taste. So please let me know your takes as well. So thanks a lot for giving me some feedback here. I think it was fun. I hope you had fun as well. And with that, I also want to end the stream today. So thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you around. And yeah, thanks for the nice discussions. It was really fun. And see you around, I guess. Yeah. Nothing about fish map. It's not true. It's not true. Please, please, please. See you around. Have a nice weekend. See you.